there. Live. All right. Is it? Yep. Yep. It's counting. Time is ticking. It's showing that I am live yet again on this glorious Friday. Sun is out. I've got the blinds closed because it's pretty bright out there. Just so you know, it's not always doom and gloom and grey and wet and cold here in Wellington, in Te Whanganui-a-Tara, in Porirua, Pōneke, Wellington, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Here with a live, got up nice and early, got some movements in. I've already done 3 reaction videos, done a part 11 reaction to Sam Bamford and his interview with Scott Jones, done another reaction to Chris Van Sant. I think that'll be part 8 or 9, whatever it is. And blinking neck, what was the other one? Oh, Mossab Hassan, is that his name? Let's just have a look. Sorry, let me double check whilst I'm here. His dad was one of the founders of Hamas anyway. Mossab Hassan Youssef. So that was a requested reaction sent through on Instagram by a follower of the channel, by Rubber Kiwi. So yeah, a productive morning so far. And then whilst I wait for videos and stuff to upload and that sort of thing, I actually saw these comments earlier, but I went back and had a read of them while I'm doing some of the exporting and uploading and stuff of videos, and then seen comments from this blinking twat. Where are we? Let's old hemorrhoid head, hammerhead 27, dummeroid head 27. Where are we? I wonder if I can. Let me just see if I can share the screen on this one, or how that works. Do I have to drag that up there maybe? Is that even going to move over there? Not even. I wonder. Sorry, bear with me. I'll sort my life out soon, I hope. Let's go there. Let's go back to making that full screen. Okay, let's try that. Old hemorrhoid head. Where? Entire screen. Window. Oh, what? Looks like I can't. Can I not share it? Where are you, babe? Looks like I can't. What if I do this? Me and technology. Oh, bloody hell, I'm on the wrong screen. Let's go. Wonder if this works now. Okay, let's try this. Come back to here. It's all right. There's probably nobody on here anyway, so I've got time. Share. Yeah, there we go. See what that does. All right, looks like it's sharing that screen. Oh, my blinking, the way the display is, my thing is cutting out some of it. But anyway, I'll read and give some context to some of it here. Old Dumbo, Hammerhead 27 has jumped into the comments, and he's made a couple of comments. This one here on the right. Is my mouse even hovering over it? The one on the right here. That one was on my reaction to the NZSAS cycle, the First Among Equals documentary, I think the final one. And so clearly Hammerhead just is frothing at the bit. He must be a subscriber, and he must have his notifications on so that he can be notified when I posted a video, and just can't help himself, has to jump in there. And he's put this comment in there. I'll give some context though in terms of where he's coming from for this first comment that he's got here on the side, and that's probably the easiest way to do that. I think is if I go into YouTube and find that comment thread. So let me do that. Dun, dun, dun. And this will just give a little bit more context, I think. So there was a comment before him by a person at Unfit for Purpose on the NZSA's First Among Equals cycle final SAS veteran reacts. So that's the most recent one. It's the one with the NVG screenshot with the soldier on the image on the thumbnail. And Unfit for Purpose put down With all the BS war crimes, witch hunts in Australia and the UK, I'd be surprised if anybody is wanting to join these days. But hey, that might just be my own bias. Why anybody would want someone in a team running around with a GoPro on their head, catching something that could look bad and come back to bite you in the ass years later. And that was the end of his comment. And then I did reply to that. I just put there my response to him, which is in the comments. I just put, I hear you 100%. I've said and shared similar thoughts during other reactions and live streams, but I also know that there is and will likely always be those who will still want to serve in these units, which is just a fact. I know that because I'm fortunate. I've got here, I didn't say I know that. I'm fortunate to work with some of these people who have either passed selection and or are currently preparing for selection. So that's one of the, I would say, privileges and opportunities that I get to do in terms of working with some people and providing some guidance and direction in terms of answering questions. And then I try and do that more broadly with some of those questions that either come from those people or from other people that are just curious, and do some Q&As on the channel. I put here also in my response to Unfit for Purpose is I try to think whether these things would have changed my mind if this stuff was being broadcast. So I do and have in the past try to cast my mind back and think about, man, would this deter me from wanting to join a unit like the SAS? So at 14, etc., part of my story, which people have heard if anybody's followed my channel for a little bit, would that have deterred me from, or would that have caused me to change my mind if this stuff was being broadcast? And then I've got here, and although I can't say for sure, I feel like I still would have gone for it. Because I think there's that feeling that people have, all of us have, well, it won't happen to me, or, it can't happen to me, or that happened such a long time ago. Like if I was preparing for selection now, these allegations are from 2009 to 2012 period. We're in 2026 now. So, when I've tried to not rationalize, when I've tried to think about whether or not I would, I can't help but think I probably still would have gone for it and put in my application and gone for it because of those things. It happened such a long time ago. It'll never happen to me, all that sort of stuff. And then Hammerhead comes in here with his comment. So that's this one here that you can see on, or you should be able to see on the screen. Maybe let's just go to that. Well, he's got, yes, I said this in one of my, so he's decided to chime in the comments of which I responded to Unfit for Purpose, which is fair enough. Yes, I said this in one of my comments, that the actions of those alleged, so he's got in capitals there, trying to emphasize his point. Bear in mind, this is somebody who reckons he's got a law degree, right? Where he got his law degree, I don't know. Out of a Weet-Bix packet or off Temu purchased. What type of law he does, I don't know. Property law, does he do wills law like what Scott Jones and them were assigned from the ADF when they were being investigated and no charges brought against them? Did the ADF go out of their way to provide for them the best type of criminal lawyer that money could buy? Clearly not from what Scott Jones has said. So is this guy contracts law, property law? Does he do wills? He clearly doesn't do criminal law. But anyway, alleged to have committed war crimes in Afghanistan is going to have negative consequences for those currently in or those about to join, who will now have every action scrutinized, and could lead to some becoming gun shy because they may fear the consequences of their actions, leading to injuries or deaths of Aussie/NZ operators. That's your opinion, bro. Based on what? That's your opinion based on, seems like truck all. You reckon you're just a civvy. But again, I've mentioned you keep running to the defense of these cowardly retards that I've called out. And I would call them and name them by name if I knew their names. But they've got anonymity and immunity to protect them, because they're too bloody cowardly, too gutless to put their mugs on camera, like yourself. So that's why I've said you're either one of these cowards and these useless retards that got the arse from 2 Squadron, got sent to 4 Squadron, or you're a relative, or you're the boyfriend of one of these cowardly retards. Somehow, some way, in some way, shape, or form, you've got a closer connection. You've got a much closer connection to these retards than you're letting on, cuz. Like, there's how I don't and have not seen, and I've been posting this stuff for a while. All you need to do is go and have a look in the channel and see the types of reactions that I've done, in particular on this topic. And I never expect to have everybody agreeing with what I share. In fact, probably by and large, it's probably most people don't agree with what I speak about. There are some, dare I say, loyal followers that follow me that do agree with what I share, but they also have different opinions on certain aspects in that as well. The reason that I say you're either somehow closely connected to all this and that you can't just be some random civvy who's apparently got a law degree is because of the passion that you come in. It seems to be when something happens or you're reading through comments in other videos. So my reaction to the NZSA is first among equals got nothing to do with war crimes, but you keep bringing yourself into the conversation, which is fine, which is cool. Like, one, you're good for giving me content, but two, like, I don't block comments. So over to you, Lincoln, fill your boots, come on over. But it's suspect, bro. It's suspect. So you're either a boyfriend to one or all of these twats, or you are one of these gutless twats that got the ass from 2 Squadron, and you're trying to, under the disguise of hemorrhoid head 27, trying to defend yourself as well as you can, or trying to defend yourself and your boyfriends from being the truck and useless punts that you are. Knock-on effects of the big fella and his crew of legendary non-cowards, in capitals. So here's you again defending your legendary crew, you reckon? The legendary non-cowards who, in the pursuit of justice, and they just want the truth to be told. You can see my reactions and my comments to that on the 60 Minutes video, Secrets of War. But they don't want to show their face, and they want anonymity, and they want immunity from the alleged war crimes that 3 have alleged they committed. So I don't know what legal school you went to, cuz, but that just sounds like a bunch of retarded cowards to me, if ever I heard it. So non-cowards, you've got super soldiers kicking ass, taking names. Oh, and legs. I like your comment there about the legs, because yeah, they took the prosthetic leg of one of your uncles. Maybe it's one of your uncles over there in the Taliban. So that's the background context for people that have, because I have received some comments again. Oh, I can see Hammerhead is back in the comments again. And I went and had a look, and then I seen some of these comments. There may be some other ones that I might have missed. I know he's commented on the New Zealand party post as well. That one was actually quite funny. What did he say? The move to Australia party. So that one's actually a good one. And then he's chimed in on other videos, my Secrets of War one, where he's tried to offer advice and say, you should be stating, or you should state whatever at the start, that this is who the video is done by, or some rubbish. I just, applicant, whatever, cuz. I'm not going to take advice from somebody who doesn't have a YouTube channel. Bro, you can't even show your face out. You declined to come on a live. We can do it live stream, so that way I can't doctor or edit anything out. We can be talking. You can get your point across, and you can make me look like a stunned mullet as you bamboozle me with all your legal jargon and your facts and your articles and the points that you want to get across in relation to these war crimes. That's an open invitation to you, cuz. But you won't, because you're a blinking useless coward retard. And you're probably, like I said, either the boyfriend of one of these blinking cowards, or you are one of the cowards, or you're somehow closely related. How many random civilians just out of nowhere have popped up on my channel looking and going so with such passion to defend these cowards? If you go and have a look at my comments, there's truck all, there's you. So again, I don't think I'm clearly striking a nerve with the reactions that I do. Reacted to your article that you wanted me to read, and you attended the live stream in the comments, but you declined to attend, and you give some blinking poofed bloody excuse. Why would I want to join your live stream when you're just going to do this? It's like, well, I'll let you lead. You can run it. You can ask me questions, but I've definitely got questions that I'd love to ask you. Why not start a YouTube channel, bro? Like, you should start a YouTube channel. Reason that I say that, and this is legitimate, I'll share this in at the end of my reaction. So the part 11 reaction of the Scott Jones interview on the Sam Bamford podcast, Two Worlds Collide. I extend an invitation to you. I can't remember exactly what I said, but at the end of that video, extend an invitation to you to do a live. I don't, to start a YouTube channel. I don't think you will, because you're trucking useless, but I think you should. Reason being, and this is legitimate, is because I do think you will find people that 100% support you. That's what I honestly think. So I think, excuse me, I think there's probably more people. I think there's more retards like you out there. And you starting a YouTube channel could provide a place for all you cowardly retards to just congregate. You could be the catalyst. You could be the start of bringing the rest of the retards into the light, so to speak, and they can congregate on your channel. So then that way, like, not only will you be providing content and you can be doing what you enjoy, it seems like you enjoy it, unless you just enjoy watching my channel and you just enjoy reading through the comments on my channel and then chiming in, which, hey, I'll take it. Like, that's awesome. That's good. But I think there's an opportunity there for you. You'd have your own little niche. And I genuinely think there'll be people out there that may be similar to you. But again, I don't know that you will, because I don't know if there are just random civilians who are wired like you to chime in, unless, like I've said, you've got some sort of closer connection to these retards than you're letting on. Cuz, say what you like in the comments. It's pretty easy to punch away on the keyboard and put in the comments whatever it is that you like. But it would paint and show a different story, and it would prove me completely wrong if you were to put a social media post with your mug on there and or start a YouTube channel. So that's a genuine invitation. I think you should start a channel. I think you would attract more retards that probably think the same way as you, if you are genuinely what you say, just a random civilian with a law degree that has got a genuine interest in defending these cowards that got the ass because they were too useless in 2 Squadron in a green role warfighting role and got the boot to another squadron. How they didn't get the boot back to their original unit is beyond me, but hey, it's outside of my control. But clearly you've got a love and a passion for these fellas. So maybe there's more of you out there, and you'd find your tribe, and then you can be doing content to your heart's content. You could do counter reactions to my reactions, and or we could just have a regular spot. You can have a catch up with me and do it live stream, so there's no doctoring or editing of anything out, and you can get your points across in terms of where you're coming from and why you believe RS is guilty. People have spoken about people getting immunity for giving testimony and evidence is nothing new. 100%. I get that. I realize that that's nothing new. It's been done for ages, for a long period of time. I'm gonna have a sip of water. But with regards to, those people seeking to get immunity for their testimony, I've spoken about it in multiple reactions. Why are they seeking immunity? Because they don't want to go to jail? How is it? What's going on in their non-cowardly brain, according to you, Hammerhead, that makes it so that it's okay to, if these allegations are true, of the 5 counts of war crime murder, 3 have apparently been committed or alleged to have been committed by 3 other individuals, and 3 of those individuals out of the 4, or there's 4 that have got immunity all up, but 3 that allegedly committed the actual murder have got immunity, so that why can't they front up? Why can't they front up and accept the consequences if it's in the name of truth and justice and not being above the law, which are things that these witnesses in the shadows with their masks on and the cap and the blacked out face in the interviews have spoken about? that they want the truth to come out, that you can't just go around doing whatever it is that you think that you like, that we're held to account to a higher standard. They're talking about all these things, the truth and justice and all that sort of stuff, but they're not willing and or ready to accept their responsibility or accountability if the allegations are true. Just seems a bit rich, cuz. So, yeah, super soldiers, the non-cowards, they're a track of blinking cowards. And so are you. So are you, hammerhead, hemorrhoid head, old blinking dummeroid head 27, more like it. You can't show your mask. All you've got is comments in the peanut gallery section for you in regards to trying to get your point across. It's good from the perspective, like I said, you provide content for me, but I'd love to see you start a channel and um, see how many others you attract that are aligned to your thinking. And I would be interested to sit and watch and hear your take, your perspective. But I don't think you've got any real relevant perspective without compromising yourself and giving yourself away in terms of being one of those retards that's there, or being a blinking the boyfriend to one or all of those retards. Maybe you're Andrew Hastie's blinking PA or boyfriend. Who knows? Anyway, that's that one. And we gave the background context on that. So unfit for purpose made a comment. I responded to that, and this fella frothing at the mouth, couldn't wait to get in there and jump into the comment, and he's jumped back in again. This other one is what video was this one from? Let's have a look. I got to see which one this comment was from. Taliban. Oh, there we go. This was from the Inside Taliban Fighter Life. That was one of the paid reactions that I got and asked to do. And so that's where this comment comes from. Some of the Taliban pretended to be disabled farmers, but thankfully legends like Aussie Rambo could pick. Again, he's either one of the cowardly retards or he's one of the lovers of these blinking cowards, because he clearly is speaking from either no experience at all, not having been on the ground, and not having an understanding that, oh, you know what? It's probably a pretty good disguise and a pretty convincing, potentially a more convincing story if I've got one leg. Wonder how he got the one leg. Could it be that maybe an IED that he was trying to plant took it out? Or could it be, I don't know, maybe he was just born with one leg? Who knows? But old hemorrhoid head here seems to think that he has the answers. That somehow the Taliban, who are dressed like civilians, who are not, all Taliban are civilians, they're not a recognized military at all, that somehow they couldn't and wouldn't utilize that to their advantage of having one leg. Oh, this will make me look more like I'm just an innocent civilian. That they wouldn't and don't use women and children and elderly people as shields when they're in the environments that they're in. Clearly, hemorrhoid head or dummeroid head has got all the answers based on sitting on his couch by the sound of things. Then we've got here, and then kick them out and down a cliff. How do you know it was a cliff? Were you there? Did you measure it? Well, no, I saw the footage in the video, mate. There was a fella walking down it. And it was sandy. And I don't know how many cliffs you've been on or how many cliffs you've ascended or descended, but where I'm from, you can't walk down a cliff. It's not done. People don't walk down cliffs. They're climbing them, they're scaling them, either free solo wise or with ropes and harnesses and anchor points. Looked like a sandhill to me. Well, that's good that it did look like a sandhill to you, because that's what it looked like to me. Did RS have to scale it first? Don't know. You should ask him, bro. Was he in mountain troop? Wonder why the Taliban won and we lost. This fella, why the Taliban won and we lost? So were you there, Hammerhead? Are you one of these cowards that couldn't get his gun going, that got kicked out of the squadron and moved to 4 Squadron? Or was it one of your boyfriends that got the ass because they were useless and you're upset and you want to come on and defend them? In the comments of all places. Crack up. It's yeah, you are unique. Special head, I think is a suitable name for you, Hammerhead. Special head 27. So we've got this here, and in the title, because I know you're subscribed and I know that you've got notifications turned on. So when you wake up, what are you, about 4 or 5 hours behind us here in NZ if you're over there in WA? When you wake up, you can sit back and enjoy this live stream, and then you can punch away in the comments, which no doubt you will. And then you'll give some rationalization in terms of why you won't start a YouTube channel. You should, man. Do a YouTube, do an IG, do a TikTok. Get yourself out there, bro, and go all in. Like, in terms of defending your boyfriends, these cowards that got the ass from 2 Squadron. Crack up. Oh, holy heck. Sorry, there's a couple of comments on here. SK Timu Law Degree. JJ Beachburn, morning Joe. Love your work. Cheers. I respect your reactions. You come from a non-biased, experience-based, common sense approach. Hey, thanks for that. I do think that I am biased. I'm pretty sure I've shared that in other videos. I do feel like, I do have a bias towards the regiment. I make no secret of that. I'm proud of my service there. I'm proud of the guys that go there and serve. Not these cowardly retards, though. I mean, to have no balls at the times when you should have had the balls to speak up, and then wait for, if these allegations are true, and then wait for years to go by, and then to suddenly grow up here and not go through the process still, though. Like, they've waited till RS is out of the military, out of the regiment, and out of the military altogether. Then they've not gone through the process within the military that is there to be able to follow up and enable at least an administrative inquiry. That'll take me into the next part of my live after this, which is Wayne Weeks in the link that I was sent. But to go through that administrative inquiry, to follow through and cross the T's, dot the I's, they've circumvented that whole process, whereby there would have been a hierarchy or chain of command, which they could have gone through, should have gone to, and should have followed that process. But they've circumvented that completely and just gone, nah, I'm going to go straight to the media. Why that is, none of them have said. So none of these brave, courageous men, according to Dummeroid Head 27, none of them have said in any of their interviews, I tried to go through my military chain of command. I tried to use my hierarchy and explain what I had witnessed, what I had observed, what my concerns were. None of them. And in any of the reaction videos that I've done, or that I've seen and that I've been asked to do, and which I have gone ahead and done, none of them have said anything like that. That I tried to go through the process. I tried to escalate it through. I tried to do the right thing. And because nothing happened, so because nobody did anything, because I got blocked at every turn, because I got moved on or told not to worry about it, or because none of them have said any of that, if they had to come out and said all of that they had tried all of those things, and because of these obstacles and things that were taking place, I then felt like I had no other option but to go to the media and go loud and be as loud as I could to try to bring some sort of accountability to the situation. None of them have said that. So again, no balls back then, no balls to follow the process. All of a sudden, it grew a tiny pair of balls to blink and go straight to the media and circumvent the whole process and system. Thereby, to be fair, Hammerhead's got a point. It does bring into concern, question, disrepute, even the reputation of the military and the SAS, or the special forces in general, across the board. Will it create concerns, doubts, apprehension for soldiers? Possibly, based on what he's got here. He's got consequences, negative consequences. But again, unless Hammerhead is served, he has no trucking idea. He has no idea. So he's claiming to be just a civvy. Which, again, I doubt. But if you are a civvy, you have no idea. And there's the military recruitment is in ebbs and flows, regardless of whether these war crimes happen, are alleged to have happened or not. Like, there's always going to be ups and downs, peaks and troughs with regards to recruitment, I think, in any organization, not just the ADF. To your points, though, about people becoming gun shy, fear of consequences, possibly. The reality is, and the truth is, we don't know. You more than likely, if you're a civvy, certainly don't know, because you've never been on a two-way range. You've never been in that situation where bullets have been coming back at you, or cracking past your head, or pinging up in the dirt in front of you, or smacking into the vehicle that you may be in. You've not been in that situation. So I don't think you're qualified or have got any level of experience, if you are truly a civvy, that is, to be able to comment and say that if and when soldiers find themselves in those situations, which they may do if they are deployed on live operations, that they're going to be gun shy and not fire back. Like, you don't know. I don't know that for certain. But I have been in those situations, and I can tell you that I wasn't gun shy when rounds are coming back at me and my mates. So we're definitely firing back. So yeah, your comments in that and there, your perspective, you're entitled to it, and your opinion. Hence why I say you seem to have a lot to say. You seem to be so passionate about this topic. Would even when I haven't done a reaction video on the topic, you've you've chimed in on the comments like you have with that first one on the right hand side there, and then this one with regards to the Taliban. Man, it probably is a good thing if you are a civvy. You would not want to be out on the battlefield, hemorrhoid head, because you would have no trucking idea what you're doing. You would be naive to think that in guerrilla warfare, asymmetric warfare, whereby coalition forces invade another country, you would be naive to think that the occupants of that country are not going to try to use every trick in the book to work things to their advantage. It's the same in terms of organized crime organizations. They are going to try to twist and manipulate as much as they can to try to game the system to get as much advantage as they can so that they can continue doing their illegal activity. If that means using young children to carry drugs and smuggle weapons or whatever it is, or to carry out drive-by shootings on places in your own country, in Australia and in other Western countries, they're going to do it. If in Afghanistan, as an example, if that means incorporating young children and indoctrinating them from a young age and strapping suicide vests to them, if that means doing the same thing to women, if that means getting, dare I say, old mate, old farmer, according to you, with one leg, if that means getting him to appear to be an innocent civilian or an innocent farmer and he's got one leg, how much of a threat or a soldier could he be? Then you are extremely naive. And there's no way, there must be no way that you are a lawyer. Or if you got it, you must have Blinken brought it off Temu or something, or off Fiverr, Blinken, because that's just super naive. And again, I would love to challenge you on this and have the conversation with you live. You can see my mask, I can see your mask, you can have your say, and let's sit and listen to you make sense of what it is that you're trying to spout and talk about. Like, put it across in, keep your bias, have your bias. Like I've said, I've got a bias. um, I'm mindful of that. I do try to come across and be less critical, but for me it's hard to be less critical in relation to these four that have got anonymity and immunity, based on the fact that they say they're after justice and truth, but the cowards hide behind a screen. I'm pretty sure those guys aren't serving anymore, so they don't need to maintain their anonymity because of operational reasons. And the fact that if the allegations are true, that they don't want to and are not prepared to face the consequences for it, because, oh, I was too scared. His dad was a judge and he was a Victoria Cross winner. Well, he didn't get the Victoria Cross till 2010. So if something bad happened in 2009, and then prior to in 2010, before he got the VC, and even then, a VC winner, people expect more. Not only are they brave and courageous and they've proven that, which they have and which Arias has done, but then there comes with it a higher level of expectation, standards, and scrutiny from everybody, not only within the unit, but also outside of the unit, people looking in. It's no different to, not that I've ever been one, but I would say it's no different to celebrities, to professional athletes who are essentially celebrities as well in many parts of the world, depending on what sport they play, and the scrutiny that they come under. And every action that they do or thing that they say is scrutinized and judged and people come out and make comments on it. Much like what I do on my channel. So reaction videos, I'm reacting to interviews that have been done. I'm reacting to the things that people say. Some of those things based on people's experience. Some blink and very hard fought, very heroic. Some very specific, nuanced type experience, coalface experience that they've had. And then other people like retards like Dummeroid Head with their comments in the peanut gallery who just don't seem to have enough smarts or confidence or courage to sit in on a live conversation and explain yourself, bruz. Give an explanation for your comments. Give us more context because it's hard to get context from just reading a few little lines, a blink in a paragraph and a couple of little sentences. So that's an invitation to you, bro. If you want to, I'll send you a link and then we can do it live and then let's go. You have your say. I'll let you speak for as long as you like. I've already done a live stream that's gone over 5 hours. So time's not a factor for me. It may be for you, but pick a day and time that works for you, bruz. Pick a day and time that works whereby you've got enough time to sit. You can digest what it is that you want to say. You can process it, and let's have a chat. Or just start your own YouTube channel and talk away to the screen like what I do half the time. Well, not half the time, blinking 95, 99% of the time. So yeah, I'd be interested. I reckon I could sit and listen to, and I would use your content for reaction videos. Now you might send copyright strikes my way, so you know, I'd probably, if you did start a channel, I would ask and say, hey, do you mind if I do reactions to your video content first? And if you said no, well then I wouldn't. But yeah, that'd be interesting. Leave your comments on in your videos too, like what I do. Don't go filtering anybody's comments and that sort of stuff, because you may find that you may find your tribe. A whole bunch of other retards out on the side there too that are going, yeah, I agree with you, hammerhead. That would be comedy just in and of itself for me to read through the comments that you might get on your videos. But anyway, yeah, I think that's, sorry, where was I? I blink in, got sidetracked. Thank you for the kind comment, SKMI5EE, in terms of your take. I do think that I do have biases on it, but appreciate your time. Well said and totally agree. I don't, sorry, I've just seen these comments now, so I'm not sure which part you agree with. SK again, rock spiders. That would be a good watch. Bro, I reckon it would be too. I think it would be good for not only his channel, if he started one, but I'm willing to bet it'd be good for my channel too. Oh, I don't know about good. I think it would be interesting. I think people would stop by and watch. Yeah, I reckon it would get a few views. I mean, when people talk about debates, right? And I have been asked by Solly over there in the UK, would I sit and have a conversation or a debate with Andrew Hastie? Yeah, I would sit and talk with that twat. I would probably do my best to not be calling him names each time we're sitting there and going back and forth. I think I would be able to manage that, because I would be genuinely interested in hearing what it is that he has to say, but I would also be asking him questions, which is going to be a topic which I'll get into probably in this live as well. So this may be another long live. Dean Burgess has come out with some good stuff. I got sent an article as well in regards to what's been written about Andrew Hastie as well. Another article in terms of the leadership position that he's had and positions of trust, not only as an officer in the military, but also as a member of parliament, and where he's circumvented those processes that I've spoken about earlier and gone straight to the media when he has not used the military process when he was an officer in the military. Excuse me. And then again, with the defamation case that he's undergoing at the moment, whereby he's been prosecuted, I think, a defamation case has been raised against him, whereby again, as a member of parliament, if he had concerns about toxic or contaminated soil being dumped into a certain area, then you should have gone through that process as a member of parliament, speak about it with the appropriate parties from the Labor government, get answers to that, start an investigation. Instead, he went straight to the media again. So it's just, yeah, I would sit and want to get answers to that. Public interest isn't cutting it, bruz. Like there's structure and processes for a reason. Clearly, you're apparently got enough brains and smarts to become an officer. You've got enough brains and smarts apparently to become a member of parliament. Surely you've got enough brains and smarts that have taught you that there is a process. Even a blinking baggy ass private or trooper like me understands that there's a process and structure and that you look to utilize that and go through it. You don't just circumvent it and go straight to the media. Not unless you've got your own personal agenda and wanting to make yourself look good. So yeah, anyway, that's my take on there. Let's get to these rock spiders. Good watch, Rubber Kiwi. Damn, gonna miss it again. Out the door. Have a great one, brother. Hey, likewise, thank you as well. Thank you for the I mentioned you earlier, Rubber Kiwi, for the suggested reaction with Mossab Hassan Youssef. And his dad was a founding member of Hamas. That was a good watch. I've done the reaction to that, as I mentioned. SK, just because he has only one leg doesn't mean he's not in charge of a cell and a high level target. 100%. Absolutely 100%. And so either Hammerhead is one of the gutless cowards, or he's a boyfriend of these gutless cowards, or he is just a retarded twat that just is consumed by the narratives that mainstream media spit out, and he can't think for himself. There's no ability for him to apply his apparent Temu Weet-Bix packet law degree and apply a level of critical thinking for himself to make a determination. He can't even accept the fact that the defamation trial is not a guilty of war crimes verdict. He can't even wrap his tiny little hemorrhoid brain around that aspect. He keeps touting that Aris is guilty of war crimes, that he's guilty of being a woman basher, and that he's guilty of being a bully. A bully? Are you kidding me? SAS operators, your apparent non-cowards that you've got here in capitals in the comments are upset that they were bullied? Are you kidding? Are you trucking kidding me, bros? And you are sitting here, or not, you're not sitting here, but you're sitting wherever it is that you're sitting, punching away on the keyboard, putting in capitals that they are legendary non-cowards who couldn't grow a pair of balls between them to speak up and say, stop bullying me. Like, seriously, come on, cuz. But like I said, you can't, there's really nothing you can do for retards like Hemorrhoid Head. Like, this fella is either, like I said, one of the rejects that got the ass, or was a boyfriend, lover of one of these rejects, was closely family connected, related somehow, some way, shape, or form. Because I'm just not convinced that you're some random civvy, let alone with a law degree, sitting back at home who just is genuinely concerned for the welfare and justice and wanting justice to be seen carried out. If you were really wanting justice to be seen, to be carried out and executed, if these allegations are all true, we wouldn't be sitting back and going, yeah, the guys, growing men, got through a hard selection, got through a hard cycle. Mind you, I might question as to how hard that cycle was if Andrew Hastie, that Wankstein, who failed a CQB course but wasn't RTU'd, got to stay there, didn't receive his beret with his cohort, must have got retested later on, but even prior to that was put in charge of a troop. So, potentially as I go through and dissect that information based on the articles that I've read by Aaron Patrick, I think to myself, heck, some of those standards must have dropped off there, or Andrew Hastie must have really earned the Cock of the Year award by taking and getting down on his knees, whereby he said he would rather go out in a box than bend the knee to one nation. It's pretty random for that to come out of nowhere. I think he's probably quite used to bending the knee and bending probably both knees so that he can get to where he wants to get to. That is a shame that standard sounds like it obviously dropped, and there's been nobody coming out to argue that to the contrary. Nobody's come out slating Aaron Patrick's article saying that that is a lie, that is incorrect. Andrew Hastie himself hasn't come out saying that that's not true, that I didn't fail the CQB course. I passed it first go, and I did get badged with my cohort on the same badging ceremony parade that they had. He hasn't come out and said any of that. So that gives me a solid indication that he's trucking full of it and didn't deserve to be there. So anyway, where was I? Oh, somewhere in the comments. I forgot where I was up to now, but it was something to do with Hemorrhoid Head. And then until I got sidetracked, this shiny thing over here with regards to Andrew Hastie. I was talking about Dean Burgess talking about Wayne Weeks, which I'm going to get into in this live as well. So I'll play that audio and then give my take and stuff on what he's talking about. And I think I was trying to get through the rest of these comments. That was the part that SK MI5 mentioned. Yeah, just because he's only on one leg doesn't mean he doesn't hold a position or that he's not in charge of a cell, etc. Yeah, 100%. I mean, hopefully, who knows? Who knows what's going on in little retarded hemorrhoid head at the moment? He probably wouldn't even have the courage to admit and acknowledge that, yes, that is a fair point that SKMI5EE makes. That is a fair point. Just because you got one leg does not mean you can't be a highly regarded leader within a Taliban insurgency terrorist group, or that you couldn't be a drug smuggler, or that you couldn't be capable of committing atrocities or war crimes or murdering coalition forces. Likewise, hopefully hemorrhoid head or retarded head, special head has got enough of a brain cell to understand that even young children and females can and will be used and have been used for the purposes of carrying out terrorist activity. Have a check out. Oh, actually, I'll probably share that screen after this on Instagram. One of the guys, he's got some images and stuff there from the NZSAS and their time in the Intercontinental Hotel, that blinking massive incident that happened there, and some pretty gory pictures there for educational purposes, but it highlights a point which I'll get to. And there's lots of stuff that I want to try to get through in this live, or not so much get through, but cover in this live. Rubber Kiwi, you can't pull a trigger with only one leg. Yeah. Yeah, you need two legs to pull a trigger. Another good point there, Rubber Kiwi. Something else for hemorrhoid head to digest, but he probably won't, because that thick skull, retarded skull of his probably can't let anything else in other than mainstream media. Enjoy, guys. Sounds like it's going to be a good one. Bye. See you, Rubber Kiwi. SKMI5, very complex environment during that time. 100%. Like, that's just based on what I've seen, and my experience in Iraq was complex in terms of going in there in the second Gulf War, essentially. But seeing some of the footage that I've seen and speaking with some of the guys that were over there in Afghan and the type of stuff that they were doing, particularly the highly kinetic nature and the basically the direct raids, hits on targets that they were doing. Ours in Iraq wasn't necessarily direct raids or hits on targets. Those were more opportunity when we came across a comms tower, or we came across the airbase, or we came across other facilities or structures that happened to be in our area of operation. Yeah, we looked to carry out and we conducted and carried out assaults on those particular buildings. There was truck all in the vast majority of those. And then our context happened in and around a comms tower in particular, and then other bits and pieces and context from that and other skirmishes, but nothing. My experience, nothing to the complexity of what I've seen in the footage of the lads that have been over there in Afghan, from conventional perspective, from commando perspective, from SASR perspective. Like the footage and stuff that I've seen of it, and that we've likely all seen a lot of the same footage, massively complex, far more complex than I would say than my time in Iraq, for sure. Like, that's just my take. And I think the guys that I was in Iraq with that would have still been there and gone in and out of Afghanistan probably would say the same thing. It was just way different. Even when I looked at that footage, or when I've looked at the footage, I'm like, man, those are very different types of jobs. And then I didn't even know about 429 Alpha, the ROE, blinking kill or capture, the offensive ROE that they had. I knew nothing about that. So again, that gives me an insight in just terms of how different that landscape is and how complex it was. So really valid and fair point, SKMI5. Appreciate you and your content. Thank you very much. Appreciate you spending any time here. I was not expecting people to be on here on this Friday at whenever I started this. Nearly an hour ago, but I appreciate people stopping by. People will probably stop by and see it later. But anyway, I'm going to stop pausing. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. Stop sharing. And then bring up the link that I was sent, which has got Wayne Weeks on the. Oh, the hell's going on here? Is it still? Oh, it's still live. Apologies. Where's the link? So from one of the kind supporters over there in Australia, Stu, I'll just give his first name, but he sent me through this link. Diabolical treatment, SAS veteran on war crimes claims. So just to give some context, you're going to hear a long-serving member of the Australian SAS regiment speaking shortly in this particular video. I'm just trying to get this to the point of where it's going to start. His name is Wayne Weeks. Let me share that. Let me share the screen on an image that I've got of him. Sorry, bear with me. Just to put this into a little bit more context, that's all. Minimize that. Drag that there. Make that full. What are you doing? Make that full screen. I probably could have done a better job of making those a bit bigger, but anyway, we'll do our best. Let me share the screen here. So, can I move my bloody box? I can't. Anyway, Wayne Weeks, these two podcasts that he's been on, if you haven't heard of them, the Zero Limits podcast with, I think it's Maddie Morris. Apologies if I've got that wrong. But the Zero Limits podcast, check that out anyway. They've interviewed a whole bunch of people, good people. And then the True Blue Conversations. I don't know the guy that runs that show, that podcast, but he's had a number of people on there as well. Wayne Weeks being one of them. You'll hear Wayne speak about his experience, 34 years in the ADF in general, 29 years of that full-time SASR. Worked his way all the way to the highest level in terms of a non-commissioned officer, WO1 RSM of the Special Air Service Regiment. You're going to hear what he has to say about some of these war crime allegations. It's unfortunate that the interview with this guy, Ben Fordham, people think whatever you like about him. I don't know Ben Fordham. Some people hate his guts from what I've seen. Some people love him. Some people take what he says with a pinch of salt, whatever. He's hosting this and asking some of the questions of Weeksy. It's only about 9 minutes, 9.5 minutes or something like that. So it would have been great if it went longer. For context, when I was doing the Epic Cult Outdoor podcast, in particular the Who Dares Win series, where I was interviewing, where I had the privilege to interview a number of guys, I was actually speaking with Weeksy at the time, and we were looking at coordinating, trying to organise a day and time to chat for me to interview him. Unfortunately, that interview never eventuated, because I think not long after that was around about the time when I stopped doing I just went basically cold turkey, stopped doing the interviews and stopped doing the podcast. And I've spoken about that since I started up this channel. So yeah, that was unfortunate, but it is what it is. Doesn't mean it can't potentially happen in the future. I just need to connect with Weeksy again. And I think when I was speaking with him, the email and stuff that I had for him was probably based on the podcast that I was running, which I don't have access to that account anymore. So shouldn't be too hard though. I'm sure I can make a few phone calls to some guys and try and get put in touch with Weeksy. Whether or not he'd want to speak, I don't know, but I'd like to think that he'd like to. He's an awesome guy at the end of the day. 29 years, what he says, in my opinion, carries a lot of weight. Somebody that's been there from the ground up. He was actually one of the directing staff. He may not remember it, but on my selection in Australia, and the stand that he was running late at night and then throughout the whole night, we were basically digging in a gun position, or a shell scrape really, with our cups canteen. It was one of the activities that he had us doing, as well as some other activities throughout that night to keep us awake. And then when we weren't doing some of those other activities, and your peer, one person out doing other stuff, then the other person's back and digging away with their cups canteen. And then served with him in the same squadron. Different troop though. He was in the water operators. I was in vehicle mounted, but just a very, very professional, level-headed guy. And again, I've spoken about it before. Just an example of the caliber of men that I had the privilege to serve with, learn from, be instructed by, and be inspired by. So we'll hear him. I just wanted to share that so people can have a bit of a look, and also just to acknowledge these two podcasts that have interviewed this gentleman. Again, Zero Limits podcast, check them out, and the True Blue Conversations, check out his podcast and stuff as well. And if you want to hear more from Weeksy speaking about some of his journey into the military and his upbringing and all that sort of stuff, and operations and jobs and that sort of thing. Those, I would recommend those two places to go and get a bit of an insight in on that. So let's stop sharing that. Right, let's get to, I'm going to get to the link which plays the, oh, screen is bloody disappeared off there. Here we go. Let's play this. I'll share the screen first. Share. Ben Fordham. Share, and let's check the volume so it doesn't blast my eardrums. These headphones. Hit play. Loading.
Investigated. And now a former SAS soldier has broken his, who've been investigated and then found out these claims in occasions. Australia has spent years. It has been an allegation, months and even recent years. It has been an issue dragging on and on and on. Australia has spent millions of dollars chasing a number of soldiers over war crimes allegations. We have 2 soldiers facing these claims in a court, one being Ben Robert Smith, the other being Oliver Schultz. And there are others who've been investigated and then found out months or years later they're no longer being investigated. And now a former SAS soldier.
That in and of itself is pretty piss poor, eh? Horse is one of the guys that have seen Horse in some of the interviews on the interwebs. He's one of those guys. I think 5 years later, he went in himself to ask where things stood with the investigation that he knew that he was under by the OSI, only to be told on that day, oh, actually, no, you're not being investigated anymore. Like, you haven't been under investigation for however long a period of time. How weak and poor and disgraceful is that? You can chew up and spend more than $300 million to investigate the truck out of operators that have gone away and risked everything, and who have been prepared to risk everything to go and do that. They volunteered to do that, to do their job, I should say. But you don't have the decency to have some sort of administrative process or somebody in an admin role. You can't afford an admin role to be able to notify soldiers who, like I've spoken about, literally soldiers that have been under investigation through the suicide investigation into veteran suicide, which Heston Russell has been a part of. There have been a number of veterans who have committed suicide as a result because of the added stress and pressure, that even though they had done nothing wrong. There have been relationships, marriages that have ended as a result of that. Just disconnection from soldiers to their family, to their children. Soldiers who have gone on, ex-soldiers who have gone on, tried to go on, but have found themselves struggling with a whole bunch of mental health issues, and dare I say, in some cases, addiction and PTSD. And you can't even, the government can't even appoint some sort of admin link or loop to keep those soldiers informed or updated in terms of where things are at. Even if it's just a case of a monthly call, hey, just letting you know, you're still under investigation. We will be in touch with you again next month with an update, or beforehand if we need you for questioning. Just something so that the guys know what's going on, so that their families know what's going on. And then you would think, when they're not found guilty of anything, that somebody would have the decency to call them up and say, hey, just letting you know, we've done our investigation. There is nothing further to investigate. We don't need to or whatever they need to communicate. But the fact that none of that has played out or taken place is disgraceful.
Soldier has broken his silence. Wayne Weeks is behind the strongest attack yet on the Army's leadership, and this follows the damning Brereton report in 2020. Mr. Weeks and a former SAS member, Martin McCarthy, have published an article in the Journal of Military Ethics, and they've interviewed 33 former SAS soldiers. Their explosive article accuses senior military leaders of...
So here we go. Like I've said at the start of this, Wayne Weeks, 29 years in full-time service in the SASR alone, over a 34-year total ADF career. His word, his experience, more so his experience and, well, both of those, his word and experience, carries weight. For some people, they may not, because they don't know him. Like they've not had anything to do with him. So I understand and acknowledge people that haven't had that connection or don't know him or haven't spent any time or haven't seen him work and or haven't heard other people talk about him and his work may find it very hard to believe or take on board what Weeks is saying. I personally don't, because of those things that I've just mentioned, and having seen and heard and felt the way that he leads, the way that he instructs, the way that he carries himself and conducts himself, I've seen and witnessed that and felt it firsthand. But he's interviewed 33 other operators, and those will be more than likely operators that have been at the coalface and that have been involved in that global war on terror, more than likely. And there may be others that he may have interviewed, but I can't see why he would interview people that weren't there during the global war on terror if it's in relation to the failures of command, which is what Weeksy and this other person have been coming out against and speaking out about.
Failing to understand the brutal realities of war, drawing on decades of Special Forces experience, they argue that senior officers have become too removed from the battlefield, while soldiers were sent out too far, like bad characters. And
that's interesting because they're not to say that, and it seems like these other 33 SAS soldiers, former SAS soldiers, think the same or have similar thoughts. But we've heard that through David McBride. Now, people can say and think whatever they like about David McBride, the guy that I think is going to be getting released out of prison soon. I think he's been serving however long serving in prison, and he'll still have time left that he needs to serve. But I think he's eligible for parole, whatever it is, soon in the not too distant future, I think. But when he went to the media with his concerns were in relation to the over investigation into soldiers in Afghanistan. He wasn't bringing up or raising, which is what the media narrative, mainstream media narrative has spun. He wasn't bringing up and saying that special forces soldiers over in Afghanistan are committing war crimes. He was saying that the Inspector General of the Australian Defence Force, or the IGADF, were overstepping the boundaries with regards to the type of investigations that they were doing. And he felt that it was wrong, and he felt that there was no justification for it. Mainstream media has twisted that whole narrative. Anyway, long story short, whatever I think he's been found guilty of theft and breach of blanket security protocols and all that sort of stuff. He got sent to jail, right, for that. These retards, these cowardly retards that had gone straight to the media, including Wank Drew Wasty, got nothing. From the article that I read from Aaron Patrick, I think some of them got promotions. Obviously not promotions within a warfighting green role, promotions within Blank and 4 Squadron by the sounds of things, because they got the ass from a warfighting squadron. So it's interesting to me that mainstream media, government, legal system can and will convict somebody who, again, has gone to mainstream media, right or wrong. The idiot did what he did, but he wasn't going to the mainstream media to say there are war crimes being conducted. He was going to mainstream media saying there are no war crimes that are being conducted. Any allegations that have been raised have been looked into and have been found that the killings of those people during those tasks were warranted and that there was nothing illegal about them. And what he was raising was that the IGADF were doing and overstepping the boundaries with regards to the investigations that they were looking to do. So, but he's ended up in prison. So, make sense of that. I can't make sense of it. Anyway, let's come back to this.
And this story has been broken by Aaron Patrick for the Nightly, and he's very kindly passed on a contact number for Wayne Weeks, the former SAS soldier who joins us on the line. Wayne, thank you very much for talking to us.
Hi, Ben. Thank you, and thanks very much for having us on.
How long did you have in the SAS?
Look, my career spanned 34 years full-time, and probably 29 years of that was full-time SAS. I finished up my time as the Regimental Sergeant Major of the SAS Regiment. Ultimately, that's the senior soldier before I moved on to the commercial world.
That's the senior soldier, right? That's the dude. That's the dude who has been there, done that, seen everything, been a part of everything, and is continuing to ensure, as the RSM, continuing to ensure that the standards remain as high as what they were when he went through. and that people are held accountable, etc., etc. Again, don't ask me how. All I can say is I would guarantee that Wayne Weeks wasn't on the panel that let Andrew Wasty slip through the keeper and get awarded or be given a troop to command within a squadron without having passed CQB. Just a side note, Wayne Weeks is an incredible shooter. Awesome shot even beforehand. He used to spend a lot of time at the pistol club with a lot of civvies and stuff as well. And when we would be doing training, pistol shooting and other shooting, he'd be sharing that knowledge and those tips and stuff with us to help us be better in that as well. He'd also encourage us and guys to join the Civvy Pistol Shooting Club. I didn't have a pistol in terms of my own. I've never been somebody that had my own firearm, so I was just like, I'll just do my shooting when we're here on the range, which was pretty much every day. So I got to have a good amount of time on the range. I would 100%, dare I say, probably be a pretty useless shot right now, particularly with a pistol. But give me enough time and lots of ammunition, and getting some drills and reps down range, and hopefully get back to being able to at least hit a target at least. But I would say that Weeksy, there'd be no way that he would have been on the panel approving somebody who's failed CQB with the understanding that they have of how important that work and that role is, who's failed, and then letting them go through and letting them stay there. That article already said they RTU'd a number of others that failed the course. They should have RTU'd everybody, as they had done in the past. Everybody who fails the course and have tried their retests and failed, unfortunately, well done for passing selection, well done for getting this far, but we can't keep you. Like, you haven't been able to meet the requirements within the time frame that everybody else has had to meet it in. So you shouldn't get a special allowance because you're a blinking a Rupert. Nuts. But anyway.
What do you think of the way these war crimes allegations have been handled?
Ultimately, really poorly. Brereton, I think a lot of people mistake this for Brereton's opportunity to investigate this. It should have been an administrative inquiry, not a judicial. So, most of us believed he stepped well outside his boundaries. And ultimately, once he started...
Sorry to cut Wayne off there. The reason that we're... part of the reason to do this is that I attempted to do just a standalone pre-recorded reaction video to this, but the system that I was using, it wasn't a live, the system that I was using for the pre-recording didn't record the bloody thing properly. So I figured live stream has been going all right for me so far. So I'll do this one on a live stream, just because that took some time to bloody do that pre-recording. I'm glad that the pre-recordings for today's video so far this morning have gone all right. But when he was talking there about the administrative inquiry, and that's the level that it should have been at instead of going to a judicial inquiry. Apologies if I've got those words wrong. That resonates with me from the perspective of what I understand of what David McBride has spoken about. So there were administrative inquiries into things that had been raised, from what I could gather from what David McBride has spoken about. And each of those inquiries was deemed and or found to have been lawful, and that there was nothing untoward within that space. From what I gather, may not be all of them, but that's what I could get from the David McBride stuff. When Weeksy is talking about should have been an administrative inquiry, not this judicial one. Again, like, that makes sense to me. Go through the process, do that administrative inquiry. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but go through that administrative inquiry. If the checks and balances aren't matching up with regards to the administrative inquiry in terms of what they're looking for in comparison to the allegations, then there would be a mechanism to then escalate that to whatever that next stage or process is. It seems like allegations started, rumors started, which just triggered a massive they circumvented their own system and structure by the sounds of things, and went straight to a judicial type inquiry or investigation, without going through those other steps first. Now, Weeksy, like I said, his words carry weight to me. And he is somebody that has likely and would have done his homework on what the process is, or actually is, and or should have been followed. And hence why he's got the confidence to speak about it. He's done video interviews. He's doing, obviously, this one as an audio interview over the phone. He's written articles, which it sounds like, which is what's triggered this particular interview with him. He's obviously spoken with Aaron Patrick, with the Nightly, I think this guy said. So he's confident in what it is that he's presenting. That says a lot, and that should say a lot to anybody who has got questions or concerns or their peanut gallery comments in the comment section of my videos when it comes to these war crime allegations, instead of being so engrossed and consumed and, dare I say, mesmerized by the cowards in the shadows. Here's somebody that's in the light, that has done his research, that is speaking about it openly, and is not afraid to answer questions, is not afraid to come on a show, be asked questions, able to speak about what he can speak about. So understanding that there's likely still sensitive information which he would be aware of that he can't speak about, but that he will front up and speak about whatever questions are thrown at him, or for the most part, the majority of questions that are put to him. So again, those things should help even a retard understand that Weeksy is somebody with professionalism, integrity, and is here shedding some light on it. And his word, like I said, and like I'll probably keep saying, carries a lot of weight.
Very few of the senior leadership are willing to pull him back into line.
You've taken on the senior leadership. You do so at great risk, don't you, when you speak out against the top brass, even if you're no...
Sorry, I'll just...
Very few of the senior leadership are willing to...
So what he's took in, once he started down that line, nobody with leadership looked to step in to pull him back into line. So whether that's because that's come from higher above, higher than them, from a political perspective, or a minister, or the prime minister, it's hard to understand why senior military leaders, hence why the lads have done the Bravery and Betrayal documentary and have spoken so openly about the fact that they have been betrayed. They feel betrayed, that they felt like they were betrayed back then. They feel like they're still being betrayed now. And people like Anus Campbell, who allowed these things to happen, should be held to account. There should be a please explain. Why did you not follow the process? Which is why Weeksy is coming out with the articles and stuff that he's done, because he's done his research. He's put that pen to paper and he's put it out to make it publicly available. And where are the people that were in those leadership positions that made these decisions that allowed Brereton to go and do what it was that he was doing instead of following the due process? Nowhere to be found.
Taking on the senior leadership, you do so at great risk, don't you, when you speak out against the top brass, even if you're no longer in the Defence Force?
Oh, yeah, I think that's part of the reason my career was cut a little bit short. I was asked to supply an opinion to the then RSM of the Army. And look, so command headquarters, we didn't see eye to eye. Offence to what I'd wrote back to the RSM Army weren't my opinions, that was the opinions of the guys that, I served with.
Just hear that. I'm laughing because I can, having a bit of an understanding of what Weeksy's like. First, he's a very cool, how you're hearing him speak now, that's how I've always remembered him. Very cool, calm, collected, never really up, never really down. The lads spoke about it when, like, all the troops got into various contacts in Afghanistan, in Iraq at the time when we were there. And his troop was no different. And some of the guys from my cohort that ended up in one squadron, but in his troop in particular, and in his patrols, spoke about just like, has this guy even got a pulse? Has he got blood pressure at all? Like how he's speaking here, the guys spoke to him, they're like, yeah, he's just super chilled and calm and relaxed. I think a couple of the guys are like, get me some more ammo, like grab me that ammo, it's in there, yeah, and giving target indications and speaking, still clearly, but there was volume in their voice. And Weeksy being Weeksy was just how he is here in this interview, they were saying, describing, and they were just having a good laugh. It made me laugh as we were sitting around having a having a listen and talking to each other. But it wasn't surprising either. So hearing him speak is quite interesting. That he still sounds the same way I remember him. I was laughing also because what did he say? Him and whoever was in Special Operations Command didn't see eye to eye, and he said, "Oh, that's probably why." Geez, I would not call his career short, but when he said that's probably why his career was cut short, it just gives you an indication and an insight into the type of man that Weeksy is. For anybody that doesn't know him, but even more so for me, he's already given 34 years of service to the Australian Defence Force, to Australia as the country. He's already made those sacrifices, and his family has made the sacrifices as well, knowing the job and the place that he's in. 29 of those years, nearly 3 decades in the Special Air Service full time. He's going to speak his mind. And if you're an egg, he's going to tell you you're an egg. And if you're useless, he's going to tell you you're useless. If you ask him for his opinion on what it is that they're doing and you receive the opinion, don't ask for it if you're going to get upset, throw your toys out of the cot, and then say you don't want to hear it. Same way you shouldn't be entering into a debate if you're not prepared to hear and listen to different points of view. And or if you can't provide rationale and or further context to back up what it is that you're saying. You can say whatever it is that you like in the comments, but if you don't have the balls to front up and engage in a conversation with somebody who has a different opinion to yours because you're scared or because you don't have the time or because you think it's beneath you or whatever excuse you might have there, dummeroid head or hemorrhoid head, whatever your excuse is, because I'm sure you'll have one, then don't be surprised when you get called out like what Weeksy is doing, calling out these leaders and the process that wasn't followed. And actually, these are things that you should have known about, but you claim that you didn't. So why are you awarding yourself or awarding each other these supposed leadership medals for outstanding leadership and oversight, etc.? When, on the other hand, in the Brereton report, you're saying that you knew bugger all about what was happening out on the ground. It just, the contradictory stuff just doesn't make sense. But it's great that people like Weeksy, who have got the credibility, who have got the background, who have got the runs on the board, who have got the coalface experience, and who have got the courage and the balls to speak up and the intelligence to do the research and then put pen to paper and then outline all of those things and the failings of what this apparent ADF leadership at that time failed to do, and then hold them to account and give a please explain. Where are they? Nowhere to be seen or heard. They leave it to their mates in mainstream media to pump a narrative out for them.
I was just relaying the information on how they were being treated during the IGADF inquiry. So, look, it is risky. And look, I think there might be an element of a risk to this because the OSI is still going. But in the journal, that's the perception of the guy. And, ultimately, there were some interesting findings out of that.
Yeah. It's cool that he said that those weren't, necessarily his thoughts. That was the feedback based on the 33 operators that he interviewed. And that's what he's describing there. For further context, is he's describing the way in which, or my understanding, because Scott Jones has touched on some of this, but he's describing the way in which the operators were essentially interviewed under the guise of interview. So Scott Jones spoke about they weren't allowed a support person. They were very rarely allowed any breaks during that process. They were yelled at. We heard Tony, one of the operators in the Bravery and Betrayal documentary, talk about that. They were treated like they were filth, like they were the scum of the earth. They were treated like they were actually guilty of these things, of these allegations and rumors that had been put forward to them. And hence why people like Heston Russell have come out and said openly, the soldiers going through that process, himself included, were treated worse than what convicted murderers or pedophiles are. Like I think it was Heston Russell that came out and said pedophiles are treated better and have been treated better than what soldiers who went away, who were prepared to die for their country, obviously for their mates and family and friends and all that sort of stuff in their country as part of that. But they were treated worse than what convicted sex offenders and murderers were and or have been. And so Weeksy's grabbed that information, asked for their feedback so he could pass that up the chain. he's passed it up the chain, and Blinken, the leadership again, that where they've let them down, instead of taking that information on board, and instead of having their guys' backs, they chose to ignore it and disregard them. Mark Wales has spoken about it. The deal is, and I'm probably going to butcher, but he says the deal is we go away and we'll risk our life. We'll do that. You tell us where to go, point and shoot. We'll go and do that. The reciprocation of that, what you need to do is have our back, look after us, or look after them when they come back, or whatever I can't remember the exact word that he shared, but you get my point. He made those sort of two distinctions in terms of the agreement or the contract. We'll go do this. You make sure you look after us, that you've got our back. That didn't happen for the guys. So Weeksy interviewed 33, him and one other, interviewed 33 operators that have been through that IGATF process, that interrogation process, made to feel like they are the scum of the earth when they're not. And he provided that feedback to Special Operations Command. They didn't like it, and instead of doing something about it, again, sounds like they just left it. So when Ben Fordham is asking him, isn't this at great risk to him? I don't think Weeksy really cares these days in terms of, what else can they do to him? Kick him out of the unit again? Deny that he was ever there? Like, good luck with that. Doesn't change a thing. He's given 34 years of honourable, faithful, professional service, and 29 of that in the SAS. You've asked for his opinion, you don't like it. Too trucking bad. He's told you the truth based on not just his opinion, but the actual information from the soldiers that he interviewed that went through that process. Weeksy in Bravery and Betrayals has spoken about in that documentary. He could hear some of the yelling just down the corridor from his office. He could hear it taking place. So again, he's got a perspective and a lens based on his first-hand experience, but he's also taken that into consideration in terms of the individuals that were actually in those rooms and stuff as well. So it's just really disappointing in terms of that useless leadership, Anus Campbell and the rest of the Blinken turds that didn't do anything to support the operators.
Yeah, out of the 30 plus people you interviewed, there's a common theme that appears, and that is that senior commanders didn't listen to soldiers on the ground. You also suggest that the means and motives.
That's not surprising. The senior leaders not listening to.
And again, from a long time ago, what was that term, chateau generals, where, the perception was the generalship was sort of back, behind enemy lines, living and making decisions without.
When he says behind enemy lines, he doesn't mean in enemy territory. It's probably just a mix-up of the words, or if people are hearing it, they might think that Weeksy is saying, well, so the general were behind enemy lines. No, he means the opposite. Like, they are not behind enemy lines. They are not outside the wire. Shout out to Andy White's book. But they are probably in a forward operating base in another country, by and large, for many aspects of it, that is not in the conflict zone. Dare I say, a neutral piece of land, or just a country that is not in the fight at the moment. So they're well outside of any danger. And those that are at the coalface in danger are the ones that are on the ground. And so them not having that perspective is what Weeks is trying to get across.
An understanding of what was going on at the front line. And, so we sort of appeal to that in saying, that distance changes the way risk can be perceived, and sometimes that person making a decision doesn't carry that risk. And, as well as that.
100%. Distance changes the way risk can be perceived, or words to that effect. That's 100% true. If you're not on the ground, if you've never been on the ground, and if you are currently not on the ground and you've been out of that game for a long period of time, and you're in a leadership position because you've probably got the smarts or academic, and you can do all these tutes and other exercises, so to speak, out on the ground in training, but you're not out there in live operations, and then you're looking to pull the strings from somewhere else, your whole understanding of the threat, the landscape, the challenges that you're facing, or that the troops are facing on the ground, is completely just not not relevant, but severely skewed, like to the point whereby you don't actually know what it's like on the ground. So you're looking at the pieces on the board, you're looking at your screens, you're looking at where troops are, you can see little blinkers going off, you can see contour lines on the ground, but you don't have an appreciation of what they've just been through, what they potentially will have to go through next, what that landscape and ground is like on the ground, and what state the troops, the resources, and all that sort of stuff is in before you're making these decisions, which can seem pretty easy in an comfortable air-conditioned room, sipping on your brews and scoffing your face with blinking cakes and donuts and whatever else, while the lads are out there sweating their bunghole out on the ground doing the work. Oh, just seen a comment. Vanilla Butcher, morning to you. Is it still morning? Oh, it is still morning. Anyway, let's carry on with this.
The risk is not just coming from our enemy in that case. It's being engineered by our own senior leadership. As you know, they have trouble understanding the risk and not listening to the soldiers on the ground. And ultimately, I think that leads to a lack of accountability on their part.
And as we know, some of those generals were sending orders from a world away in a boardroom somewhere. Wayne Weeks is with us, a former SAS soldier and one of the authors behind this bombshell piece. Considering everything you've said about senior levels of our special forces, what do you say about Ben Roberts-Smith?
Oh, look, I think Ben's, an unfortunate result of, some poor decisions made, through the IGADF and.
What I like about this so far, and I get it, there's still about 3-4 minutes to go. Again, I've said, and I stand by it, Weeksy's word carries weight. If Weeksy was to come onto this interview and then this guy's asked him about what does he think about the Ben Roberts-Smith or Ben Roberts-Smith situation or Ben Roberts-Smith in general, I think if there was an inkling that RS was guilty of war crimes, this is just my take, given what I know of Weeksy. If there was an inkling that RS was guilty in any way, shape, or form of committing war crimes, I think Weeksy would be the sort of person that would voice his concern, that would come out and say, I believed that there were these allegations surrounding Ben Roberts-Smith in regards to war crimes. He hasn't said that. I don't believe he says that in this interview. Instead, he says, it's a very unfortunate situation. Sounds like that shouldn't have happened. I probably stopped it too soon, so I might just go back a little bit more just to hear the question again put to him, and then let it run through to hear Weeksy sort of give a full breakdown. So really interested to hear what he says here, but with regards to what I've heard so far and the fact that, Weeksy being a straight shooter, and then he's going to call a spade, or you're trucking useless if you are trucking useless. The fact that he hasn't jumped straight into that, to me, says a lot to me anyway. So let's just go back slightly and then play that again.
And one of the authors behind this bombshell piece. Considering everything you've said about senior levels of our special forces, what do you say about Ben Roberts-Smith?
Oh, look, I think Ben's, an unfortunate result of, some poor decisions made, through the IGADF and through our senior leadership. No one on our end, if you ask any soldier that I've served with, if there's alleged war crimes, we all say, they should be investigated. But the way this is being conducted, with leaks through the media.
That's interesting. So he was asked a question, what do you say about Ben Roberts-Smith? Not what do you say about the arrest or anything like that. A very open, very broad, and a cool question. I think it's a great question. So again, it adds weight to, and what we've just heard Weeksy talk about there as well, out of the 33 plus or 33 odd former operators that he's interviewed and spoken with, he said they would all say, so nobody's said to him that there are these war crime allegations, but they all agree that if there are allegations of war crimes, investigate them. I know I've shared that in a whole bunch of reaction videos that I've done, and even some live stream videos, and this is just another example. Like if there are allegations, regardless of what unit you're in, whether it's the SAS, whether it's 2 Commando, whether it's just a regular infantry or some other combat role within the Defence Force, any Defence Force, if there are allegations of those things, investigate them through the mechanisms and the processes that you have in place, that you have as part of your policy in the first place, not circumvent them and jump from an administrative investigation process and go straight to judicial when you haven't even triggered those parts to warrant going to that yet. Like, just why bother having policies, procedures, processes, and structure if you're not going to follow them? Just doesn't make sense. It can't be a case of only the lower ranks need to follow the process and structure, and the higher ranks do whatever the truck they want. That's going to cause dissension in the ranks, regardless of what organization you're in. And so here we have the most senior non-commissioned officer within the regiment reaching the rank of RSM, or WO1, Warrant Officer Class 1, Wayne Weeks, who has done his homework, done some research with somebody else as well, put together what they've put together, and highlighting and calling out the mistakes and the betrayal from the Australian Defence Force head shed at that time, Anus Bell and the other blinking useless retards. Maybe Hammerhead, maybe that's who Hemorrhoid Head is. Maybe he's part of Anus Bell's crew.
Yeah, leaks through the fence. That's just, as we say, this doesn't pass the pub test. So very unfortunate.
In front of his young family.
And, I'd like to say, I'm not easily very let down.
Again, it's just very cool, calm, and collected is not an overstatement when I describe Weeksy. And I'm still hearing the same man that I had the privilege to serve alongside, learn from, etc., who was one of the patrol commanders in the squadron when I got there, in a different troop, in the water operators troop. But you still interact and have a fair bit to do, especially when you're in the same squadron. And so hearing him speak, hearing the disappointment in his voice like that, disappointed with how that all turned out. Now he's been asked specifically, what did he think about RS being escorted? I think the host said wheeled off, but escorted off the flight in front of his family and his children. I'm the same as Weeksy, and I think, I'd like to think a vast majority of people. It's disappointing in the way that was conducted. It didn't need to be conducted that way. Clearly, the AFP, the OSI, media are working tirelessly. They're doing everything that they can to really convict RS of just one. All they're hoping for is just one war crime conviction. That's all they need to send RS away for life in prison. They've got 5 against them, which gives them 5 blinking attempts at it, so to speak. But what I do like about it, if there is anything to like about it, but for me personally, what I do like about it is that they have to prove, the prosecution have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. And if there is a smart jury on there, even just one intelligent person, but hopefully 12 intelligent people who are selected for the jury, I just personally can't see any prosecution being able to make 5 charges or 1 charge, let alone 5 charges of war crime murder, unless they've got a super duper ace up their sleeve somewhere that they are saving purely just for this criminal trial. But again, the reason why I don't think that's the case is because they would have pulled it out in the defamation case. Excuse me, if there was any such footage, it would have been used in the defamation case. If there was any such footage, it would have been used same time that Oliver Schultz footage was used. Same time the Four Corners Killing Fields documentary was made. So I don't, I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. But how they can prove beyond reasonable doubt without some sort of super ace up their sleeve is beyond me. Contradictory eyewitness statements of people that were on the ground, people that were in the same location, that were apparently part of the same incident that is alleged to have taken place, who saw and witnessed completely different things. Beyond reasonable doubt, this person said this person and or these people said this. It doesn't add up. No forensic evidence. Got no access to the bodies, got no access to the rounds that went into the bodies, got no access to the weapons to be able to do ballistics and confirmations and all that sort of stuff. Can't access the place and the terrain to do a proper assessment of People said that they were standing in these places here. Can we go and check that? Can we measure that? What can we see from these places here that people have spoken about? None of that. No forensic evidence. Is that important in a beyond reasonable doubt case? I'd like to think it is. I'd like to think that we are using every known resource available when people's lives are on the line and such serious crimes are being brought, or allegations, I should say, when such serious allegations are being laid against somebody who has been arrested and charged for it, but not convicted. I'd like to think that that is an important piece of any beyond reasonable doubt verdict. We don't have access to that. So anyway.
Again, felt very sorry for Ben and, and his family. The same thing happened to Oliver. It could have been handled much differently. Could have been handled much more professionally. But sadly, that wasn't to be.
Wayne, what?
Man, just on what Weeksy said there, just stuck out to me. Felt very sorry for Ben, for his family. RSM of the regiment, who's looking to maintain the integrity of the regiment, and with the background that Weeksy has, 29 years just in the regiment alone, you don't come out, add your voice, and say you feel sorry for somebody if you suspect and or think that they have done something wrong, or something that could so serious, such as war crimes, that could bring the regiment into disrepute. You don't. So again, for me, Weeksy's words carry a heck of a lot of weight. It's not only what he's saying, it's what he's not saying. And I'm not hearing any inclination or tone in his voice, to me, that suggests that he thinks RS is guilty of anything. Now, I don't know. We don't know. Time will tell. It may be that Weeksy wasn't on the ground and or in the same squadron as RS. If he's been in there 29 years, I'm willing to probably guess and or dare I say bet that at some point Weeksy and RS's paths probably crossed. Weeksy being in a senior position would have been, because he was already a patrol commander, a sergeant by the time I got to the squadron. So he would have been a very senior operator within the regiment. And I'm willing to bet his and RS's paths probably cross paths. I don't know if they would have been on any of the same patrols or tasks or missions. I don't know. They may not have been. But given the fact that they were both water operators, they probably crossed paths a number of times. And I'm not hearing anything from Weeksy anyway that suggests or that it tells me that there's a bit of a questionable perspective here based on what Weeksy is saying about RS. Anyway.
What would you say to anyone wanting to join the Defence Force?
Oh, look, what happened to us, happened, quite some time ago. I think, I still like to take an interest in what happens in the Defence Force, and, the new Chief of Army, Susan Coyle. I know her personally.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. Apologies to cut him off again, but I would say, I thought there comes someone, that's a cool question. I have been asked that question, and it probably ties in with Blinken Hemorrhoids' head's comment on here. And what's his name? Unfit for Service, his comment, my response to that, and then old Dummeroid head jumping in with his 2 cents. That probably ties in. I would imagine that Weeksy probably would feel like, it's based on what I've just heard him say so far, it's up to the individual. If people want to join, I'm not against it or super supportive of it. I'm just supportive of the person. As an example, my children, some of our children that have chosen to join the army, and some that are serving in the army at the moment here in the New Zealand Army, it was never forced on them. It was never encouraged for them to go there, and it was never discouraged for them. At the end of the day, we want them to go and do whatever it is that they want to do. They could have been blinking DJs for all I care, or truck drivers, or as long as they're happy doing what it is that they want to do, we would be supportive of them doing that, and they've always known that. So yeah, I guess I'll be interested. I reckon that's probably similar to Weeks. Like, if Weeksy, whatever person's decision is, if they want to join the army, go for it. If you don't, that's fine as well. But I don't imagine Weeksy, much like myself, I'm not out there trying to recruit for the Defence Force, if that makes sense. I'm not out there going, oh, you need to join the army, you should do this, that. Like, there is a lot of benefits and stuff to it for people going in there, and a lot of opportunity and options to do different things for those that want to do that. But, you know, each to their own, I reckon.
I think she's, a great leader from the time I'd spent with her and my interactions with her. So look, I would always encourage, people to join Defence. It's a great opportunity.
Well, I was way off the mark there. Here I was thinking that he would say, or that he wouldn't be encouraging, because that's not where I'm wired. I'm not out there actively recruiting. But he just said, oh yeah, I would always, what did he say? I would always encourage people to join. Maybe I'll just go back a bit. Yeah, well, I got that completely wrong. Let's just see what he said.
A great leader from the time I'd spent with her and my interactions with her. So look, I would always encourage, people to join Defence.
Fair enough.
It's a great opportunity to meet great people. There are some great skills there, but I think we were just unfortunate at a time where that leadership, the pressure that was on due to some of, full-time war, I suppose, for 20 years, that made a big difference to some of our generals and their ability to make command decisions. So, but yeah, look, I'd always encourage, our younger generation to serve if they have the opportunity, have the inclination, for sure.
We've just got to show some more respect to the people who go and risk their lives for the rest of us. And that includes when allegations are being made of giving.
I'll just pause that there, because I'll probably forget what it is I'm going to say. I just think it's a really thoughtful, considered, measured response from Weeksy. Yeah, like I thought, I didn't expect to hear him say that he would always recommend or encourage people to join the Defence Force. So that's cool that he feels that way. And what else did he say? That he would always encourage people, if they had the inclination, is what he said as well. If they had the inclination want to join, that he would always be supportive of it. There are a number of people that aren't necessarily supportive of it. I've shared in one of my reaction videos that, yeah, I would probably struggle to, and hence, which is part of the reason why I don't go out and I don't do videos on trying to recruit people for the military or saying that people should go and join. My videos are reactions and or response to questions and giving my take and perspective on things in terms of the stage of life that I'm in now. But also with that, I would not be, like I said, I'm not out there trying to encourage, but I'm also not trying to discourage anybody from joining if they want to join the Defence Force, whatever that is, Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever. If that's what they want to do, blank, and get after it and put in the work and go chase what it is that you want to do. That's my take anyway, regardless of whether it's Defence Force or anything else.
Giving people the benefit of the doubt and giving people a speedy process to consider those allegations.
Yeah, most definitely. You hit the nail on the head there. But this has been dragging on. Oliver Schultz, for example, over 6 years, and I think he goes to trial next year. But again, that can be another 18-month process there. So, families, relationships, livelihoods, they've just been pretty much decimated for many of the guys that are facing this, these allegations, with what feels like really no consideration outside that at all. Really, diabolical treatment of soldiers that have served. Most of them served 15, 20 years for their country and put their lives on the line.
Well,
even diabolical is too soft a word, eh? I don't know if soft is the right word, but just doesn't describe it enough. Disgusting, disgraceful, blank, and they should be ashamed of themselves, not the soldiers, the people that haven't had the soldiers' backs and the process that wasn't followed, based on obviously the research that Weeksy and them have done in terms of what should have been done first. And then if anything in that administrative inquiry warrants an escalation, then you follow that. Seems like none of that was done. People just made decisions, knee-jerk reactions to allegations and rumors, and people abandoning ship trying to save themselves, it seems like. Anus Bell, whatever his name is, that bloody retard with the big goggly glasses. That retard coming out and making apologies based on rumors on behalf of the Defence Force. Like, bro, you don't speak on behalf of the operators there that had gone and fought and served. You've been back in Blinken in your boardroom, in your air-conditioned room, doing truck all, feathering your nest and lining yourself up a cushy gig for somewhere else, probably in politics, like your boyfriend Andrew Hastie. So standing there and pretending to be the moral compass of the Australian Defence Force is just a crock of shit. But hearing Weeksy talk about, those guys there that have given 15, 20 plus years service, and again, an insight into Weeksy when he spoke about there he say his career is probably cut short. 34 years is not short at all, but it gives you an insight in terms of how much longer he was likely prepared to continue to serve for, and would have been able to serve not only probably more than likely frontline serving, but if not from the front line, at least definitely from that understanding of what it's like at the coalface, tactical and strategic perspective, bigger picture perspective. So that knowledge and experience, the competency, the expertise that he has across a variety of different operational environments over such a long period of time, the ADF has missed out on retaining that knowledge and information that could potentially go and could have gone even further to developing the capabilities of the ADF, to developing the capabilities of the individuals, to further developing SOPs, TTPs for potential future operations. So, but that knowledge is not there anymore because some blinking twat and SOCOM got their undies in a twist when they asked for feedback about the investigation and the interrogative, or the interviews, which were actually interrogations conducted on the soldiers. And when they got the honest feedback, they didn't like it. They had no backbone and spine to support their soldiers and hung them out to dry. Useless.
Well, I'm sure many of the current crop of soldiers would appreciate the fact that yourself and Martin McCarthy have gone to the effort of writing this piece for the Journal of Military Ethics and interviewing more than 30 former SAS members.
Martin McCarthy, Journal of Military Ethics. So it's not just a blinking fluff comment in a YouTube video. It's an actual research piece that is done for the, military ethics, wherever that information goes. I haven't been sent that link. Maybe I should have a look for it and maybe do a reaction or a video to it and have a read, but it's a significant piece by the sounds of things. So shout out to Weeksy and to McCarthy for their work and effort. Shout out to those 33 former operators who have inputted into that document, no doubt, and can't wait for a please explain from the Blinken Ruperts, that useless mob that were at the top of the food chain. Can't wait for them to come out and give some explanations. You can drag your boyfriend Hemorrhoid Head with you. He can maybe be your mouthpiece.
We really appreciate you jumping on the line and talking to us.
My pleasure.
Wayne Weeks, former SAS soldier, one of the authors of that bombshell piece alongside Martin McCarthy. And you can hear it through that interview. He's not saying we should ignore these allegations when they pop up, but we need to deal with them in a timely manner. And remember, the people being accused here are people who put their lives on the line. And thanks to Aaron Patrick at the Nightly for putting us in contact with Wayne Weeks.
Yeah, that's cool. It's I enjoyed listening to that, and it's a nice little summary at the end as well. Like, yeah, at no point is Weeksy saying, and all those other 33 saying, don't investigate allegations. Heck, even if it's a rumor, look into it, investigate it. But investigate it and do it in the appropriate way and method and channel and processes that you've mandated. And if those processes are not followed, then make sure that the consequences for not following those procedures are carried out as well, or are meted to the relevant person, i.e. David McBride. He didn't follow the process. He stole top secret documents. He didn't store them appropriately or safely in his own residence, and he went to the media. So I don't know if those are the 3 charges that he was charged on, but I know theft was one of them. And breaching of his security level clearance because of the access and stuff that he had, the insecure nature in which he had the documents in his residence and that sort of thing. But there's enough information and stuff out there to get an understanding of what he was actually charged with. I think it was 3 or 4 charges in the end for David McBride. Again, seems like people followed the process when it suited them and when it meant that it would mean he goes to jail, when he was, like I said, originally trying to bring to light the over investigation and the overstepping of boundaries which he believed was taking place in relation to allegations which had already been investigated and which had already been deemed that there was no issue with those based on the intelligence and based on the reports and the patrol debriefs that happened with the operators. So again, these non-cowards, according to Hemorrhoid Head, these cowardly retards who had no balls back then, had no balls several years later, waited till RS was out, still had no balls, and then come out after because they grew a blinking nutsack, one between blinking the 4 or 5 of them, and then decide to come out. And not only do they want to do it in the cause, in the pursuit of honesty or truth and justice, but they want to do it in pursuit of sending RS to jail, but not them, because they were just doing what they were told. And under international law, that is not an excuse. International law being the key wording there. International law, it's not good enough to say that you were complicit with what you knew to be an unlawful command, or that you followed a command because he was your superior. That's not a good enough excuse under international law. And there's enough people that have written about that in a number of posts and that sort of thing. So it's pretty interesting that for whatever reason, Australia doesn't appear to be acknowledging that or looking to abide by that international law standard. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Time will tell. Oh, the comment on here. The Tamihana, big risks accepted by those who dare, and another of those must be the situation some find themselves in with regard to being hung out to dry by their superiors, politicians, and fellow compatriots. Yep, big risks accepted by those that want to go there. You've got here, and another of those must be the situation some find themselves in. Yep, with regard to being hung out to dry by their superiors, politicians, and fellow compatriots. Yeah, it's disappointing. It is a real risk, obviously, but I think in any organisation, that sort of thing that you've just mentioned there, the tamihana, I think that's a real risk, regardless of what you do, regardless of who your friends are, regardless, even you could add in there and fellow family members. So again, you could be hung out to dry by family members, by superiors, by politicians, by your compatriots, your brothers, whatever the situation or the organization may be, which is an unfortunate reality, I think, for anyone and everyone. Just so happens that there are war crime allegations associated with what's happening here in this case with RS and Oliver Schultz. And again, I don't know about you. I'd be interested to know, maybe I'll put it as a question in a post. I'd just love for the trial to start already, but I know it's not going to, because given the fact that Oliver Schultz won, he was arrested, and I think he was arrested in 2023, and then he's been out on bail since then, probably similar situation to RS. But it sounds like he won't be going to trial, or his trial won't at least potentially start until next year. So, and then like Weeksy said, that could be another 18 months, or that could drag out for 18 months or longer, who knows. If there's a guilty or not guilty, then there's probably, I guess, potential appeals on both sides. So if the prosecution against Oliver Schultz loses, then I would assume that they will probably want to look to appeal, and vice versa. If Oliver Schultz is found guilty, then I assume that there would be an appeal process on their side as well, for the defense side. So, that could drag on for who knows how much longer. And then RS is one, I think I mentioned before, I think I have heard and seen people expect that trial may commence in 2029. So that's blinking ages away. Anyway, that's that piece. Where was I? I was going to go to, I'm going to open up this Instagram, see if I can find old mate. Dean Burgess has done some stuff there on Instagram. in regards to Andrew Hastie, which is what I said I was going to do. Oh, holy heck. Like I've been going longer. It's only been just under 2 hours. But that's all right. That's what I'm here for. Let's do this first. I've got to find his there he is. Dun, dun, dun. I think it's a recent, is it this one here where it's got the line through it? See photo. I don't want to see why, I just want to see the photo. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, is that see photo? There we go. Oh, no, that didn't work. Why are you not working, man? Oh, come on. Oh, here we go. Maybe I just needed to go back more. So I'm going to share the screen. If you're not wanting to see dead bodies of terrorists, Taliban insurgents from the Kabul Intercontinental Hotel attack in 2011, then don't watch. Like, leave this live stream if you're on it, and or if you have been watching up to this point and you don't want to see these, then just drop off the live or drop off the video. And if you want to come back later on, or skip ahead, because I'm still going to be on this video doing the stuff with Dean Burgess. But I'm going to look to share the screen here. Share screen. So that was your heads up. If you're still here, then good for you. Check out this fellow and give him a follow if you like. NZSAS lad. Kabul Intercontinental Hotel Attack 2011. All the gore. Reality of war for educational purposes, in brackets. They trained for this attack. So these terrorist insurgents, one of them you can see dead here in this image, they trained for this attack, picked the time and place of their choosing, held the high ground in a defendable position. So they understood this, they knew this, their training, and still couldn't take even one of us out. I like this comment. Haqqani Network, what a bunch of truckin' losers. I love the comment. I love the context that's been given. And I'll be honest, I'm pleased to see these images of these dead twats that decided to F around and they found out. So shout out to the NZSAS lads and the awesome work that they did, that they carried out when these cowards stormed this hotel, based on the training and the planning that they would have had, got to their positions, their key positions, and still got their backsides handed to them. So here we go as we have a look. Images here. So to the point of, what was it that Scott Jones was talking about in the Sam Bamford Two Worlds Collide? Like, I'm not going to go and try and catch a suicide bomber. How do you arrest or capture a suicide bomber? You're going to kill them. Kill or capture all these twats. These Alhamdulillah, Allah Akbar, decided to blow themselves up, and or if they didn't, they got shot. Look at this. I can only assume that this is some sort of modified suicide device with ball bearings embedded into plastic explosive, with a detonator that must have been somewhere attached to the person's body, with the intent that, well, this is it for me. I'm off to heaven to go get my blinking however many virgins they think they're entitled to after being the blinking retards that they are out on the ground. They're going to clack themselves off and try to take out as many people as they can. Well, it looks like, if I'm correct in terms of what I'm looking at here, this sort of improvised explosive device, they couldn't even truck and do that right. But there are some fairly gory images in terms of stuff that you'll see here on some of these other images. And this lines up with some of the comments that Jamie Pinnell has spoken about when he's done a number of interviews. Give that guy a like and a follow as well if you haven't already, and or watch some of his interviews that he's done. With any luck, I'll hopefully get a chance to. We were going to try and do a walk and talk. The school holidays just gone, but he was a bit too busy, so we'll try again later this year. But here's some of the bits and bobs of these truck and useless cowards that decided to clack themselves off in the pursuit of going and getting themselves some virgins, I guess. Oh, look, a leg. We'll see a few more of those in these images. See photo. There you go. There's one for hemorrhoid head. One of the legs. Maybe that's what happened to old mate. Maybe he had a little accident, blew off his leg, the bloody twat, and that's why he had a prosthetic leg. And the lads, they collected it as a drinking vessel. And some twats like hemorrhoid head are upset about it. More here. Just the reason that I'm going through these is just to highlight, I guess to a degree, the level of commitment that the Taliban are fighting with, at least some of them, the true believers, and that when they think everything is lost or that they're going to lose, that they're going to look to detonate themselves and kill as many other people as they can, or try and take out as many other people as they can in the process. That's the level of retardedness that operators from the coalition forces around the world were having to deal with and fight against. That's not even including the young children that they're then having to fight against. And yes, hemorrhoid head, that's not even including those that might be getting around with a gimpy leg or a fake arm or a prosthetic arm or whatever else they want to have, and trying to disguise, for many of them, not all of them, but trying to disguise their potential association, let's say, with the Taliban. But just look at these, look at what the guys were then faced with. Rounds and stuff tied in with the body parts, with the mangled flesh and blood in there. See photo. Oh, what? That just skipped past. Probably, I remember Jamie talking about they could see a leg hanging out of certain places. Seems like they saw a heck of a lot of legs hanging out in a lot of different places. And because they weren't sure, they'd shoot the leg and they'd see it move. But it's quite interesting listening to Jamie Pinnell's description when he's talking about some of what they encountered as they were going through clearing the building and saving what hostages they could. Another foot, another one of these soldiers. So there on the chest looks like one of those improvised devices. Boys are blinking, being pretty game, being that close, like that's going to go off with quite a significant bang if that is an IED on the person's body. Maybe he didn't have enough time to blow himself up. Excuse me. There's old mate there. Well, that's all the images there. If you don't like it, well, then you shouldn't have stuck around to have a look and or listen, but you can scroll through the comments. There's the context there. Hemorrhoid head. Maybe you can go on there and comment on there as well. Give your take. Oh, those poor innocent hotel workers. Yeah, bloody ball bag. But yeah. Anyway, that's that. We can stop sharing that. Where are we? Dean Burgess, I got to get to. That fella a shout out, and he's doing some good work. Dean Burgess. Dean. He's got some stuff there on our mate Blinken Wank Drew Wasty. That's why I'm going there, and I want to fairly well established rumor, public interest. Here we go. Let's have a listen to Dean Burgess and what he's talking about. There is an article that I got sent which sort of goes into more detail and breaks down what Wank Drew Wasty should have done in terms of the leadership positions and positions of trust. But I also think that, like with a lot of stuff, or all the stuff that I've seen of Dean Burgess's stuff anyway so far, I think he does a good job in terms of articulating certain key points in relation to this ball bag. So pause. Did that pause? Got to share the screen. Let's go share screen. Share screen. Instagram. There he is. There he is. Big man, Dean Burgess. Shout out Dean Burgess. If you're not already following him, follow him. Check him out. Let's hit play, or turn the volume up on this and hit play.
And with that snake hasty, twice sensitive information entrusted to Andrew Hastie found its way to journalists after he decided the public interest warranted disclosure.
Twice, as Dean Burgess has pointed out. And he's going to get into that and talking about it. That snake hasty. That's a nice way of describing him, I reckon. I'm sure Dino or Dean Burgess probably got a whole bunch of other names that we could, colourful words that we could describe that Blinken Wankstain snake hasty. But anyway, let's continue.
The first one is playing out right now in a Western Australian courtroom. Businessman Aaron Granger handed Hastie a covert recording of a conversation with property developer Greg Poland. It concerned a proposal to dump millions of tons of contaminated soil from the Forestfield Airport Link project. Hastie didn't make the recording. He listened to parts of it, then sent it to journalist Nathan Hondros.
So again, I've done reaction video to this defamation case. It was an article, not a video though, in regards to what Dean Burgess is just talking about here, which is a really good call out. He's done this twice. First one being this defamation case, which is playing out against Andrew Hastie right now, and I think other members of his office, I want to call it. I think that's the right term. And in that article, the person that he received the recording from reckons that he told Andrew Hastie, I'm giving you this recording, but you need a promise that this won't go any further, that it won't go anywhere else. That person who says that he gave the recording to Hastie says that Andrew Hastie acknowledged that and gave his word, promised to not send it any further. Andrew Hastie, however, conveniently doesn't recall making any such promise. So Australia, even if you're a Liberal supporter or a Liberal fan, if you're voting and trusting Andrew Hastie, this snake, it's like you're just kicking yourself in the nuts or giving yourself blinking 100 uppercuts, because that guy just can't be trusted. Couldn't be trusted in the military and the regiment, can't be trusted in politics, can't be trusted with sensitive information. I don't know how much more evidence you need over there in Australia, but if you need more than what you've seen so far and what's readily available, well, then you're probably voting for him like that retard hemorrhoid head.
He told the court he thought it was a matter of public interest. A former SASR officer, a senior parliamentarian. Information lands in his hands. He forms his own judgment. He routes it past the institutions and straight to the media. That's not whistleblowing in the traditional sense. That's a man deciding the system is too slow and inserting himself as the filter. Part 2 is coming, and it's even worse. Follow for more of the truth you won't hear in the mainstream media. Share this with the people that you care about. The fight continues. Make it make sense.
I like what he shared there. Like a real nice short video, unlike my videos or reel or whatever these things are called on Instagram. Inserted himself as the filter. Like there would have been, so circumvented the institutions and the process. No doubt there's a process to raise concerns if he was genuinely concerned about toxic soil and being dumped in a part of his area or in any area over there in WA. Like valid. Like if you got concerns, awesome, no problems about that. Raise those concerns, escalate them through the channels. Whether he thought it was too slow or what, I don't know if he thought that it was too slow in terms of what Dean Burgess was saying there. I don't know if he thought that the institutional process was too slow to raise the concern. I think it was more so just him looking out for himself, looking at and trying to find a way to give himself more browning points in the eyes of the public, to help his position, to help strengthen his position. I think that's all it is. That's all it was. He's trying to give himself clout so that people look at him as this beacon of morality and integrity when he couldn't be, from what I've seen, and I never worked with the guy, thankfully I didn't, but to me, he seems like he couldn't be anything further from blinking integrity and professionalism in terms of how he's gone about doing things. The second one, we'll talk about it in more detail. So not only has he circumvented the institution where he could have raised concerns via the political party process and addressed those with Labor based on what he was hearing in the recording, he didn't do that. Bypass it, went straight to the media. The next one that Dean Burgess is going to talk about, he does the same thing again, but this time whilst he was serving as an officer within the Special Air Service Regiment. It's sad. It does sadden me to say that he was an officer in the Special Air Service Regiment, especially now that I know him, once I found out that he actually failed the CQB. And I've shared the regiment. I'm sure they'll be regretting letting that twat go through with the information that's come out around this guy. I hope that his situation can't be used and won't be used as a precedent for future useless trucktards that go on and get onto cycle and fail a course or fail CQB for not being able to hit the target and that they don't use Wangstein Wasties circumstances as a precedent to enable them and allow them to be able to stay on cycle. Because, you know, it's a slippery path once you lower the standards of an organization like that and then expect them to be upheld when you're going to have potentially some other retards that shouldn't be there in the first place, like Andrew Hastie shouldn't have been there. And now you end up potentially facing the backlash. I'd like to think most normal people who go on something like that, they do well to get to that point. They're doing okay, but they fail the retest and or the retests within that time frame, and they get RTU'd. I'd like to think that the majority of those normal people would accept that on the chin and go, yep, I wasn't good enough. If I want to come back, I'll go through selection and stuff again, because that's what other people have done in order to get to where they eventually got to, not be given a golden handshake and then just moved on in to a troop without being beret qualified. Just nuts to me. Anyway, sorry, I think I just seen a comment on here. 3 nuts. Morning NZ. Hope you're all well. Hemorrhoid Head 27 must have a man crush. I think he does too. I think there's probably a little bit of that. Hey, who can blame him though, eh? It must be the goatee. Who can blame him? You know, told my wife I can't blame her. It's just that bad that he has to post, or he can't sleep until he has. He may start writing you love letters next, you lucky duck. Well, you never know. He hasn't yet, but my email can be found in the description and about on my channel, on my YouTube channel. You just need to go to my channel, click on the about part or the description part, scroll down, and then hit show email address or whatever. That's how a number of other people have reached out, made contact. If that's what he wants to do, he can. But in the meantime, it seems like he's quite happy exercising his man crush right on me to comment in the comments. The poor fella. Yeah, lucky duck me, eh? Ashley Z, exactly, Joe. It was the behavior of someone controlling the narrative in his own interests and ambitions. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, this blinking Wangstein, Andrew Hastie, is a trucking idiot. Anyway, let me go to the next video. Thanks for stopping by. I didn't realize. I thought I was still talking to myself. Actually, I thought Vanilla Butcher might have still been here, and maybe SK MI5. So to know that there's a couple other people, thank yous.
I bet you thought I was going to do you dirty and stretch it out over a week. You're wrong. Here comes number 2. Years before the Poland recording, Andrew Hastie was already feeding information to journalists Chris Masters and Dick McKenzie as they investigated Australian special.
I love that. It should be Dick Masters and Dick McKenzie, both blinking dickheads, those clowns.
Forces in Afghanistan. He spoke to them about rumours concerning his former SASR colleagues, including Ben Robert Smith.
Just let that sink in. Wangstein Hastie is already trying to feather his nest, get in buddy mates with mainstream media personalities, which, let's be honest, they're fairly prominent in that mainstream media blinking weasel world, that corrupt world that they live in, and trying to control the narrative mob that they are. He's identified them, thought, oh, this is a good opportunity. I'm going to get into politics after this. This is what I think is going on in that blinking Wangstein's little brain of his. I'm going to leverage this. I'm hearing some rumors. I'm a troop commander, so I'm at the rank of a captain. But because I don't have any balls to raise anything with anybody higher, and because I don't have the balls to confront any of the subordinates about these rumors and allegations that I'm hearing, I'm going to go to the media and I'm going to say, hey, you didn't hear it from me, cuz, but this is what I've heard. This is what's going on. He didn't witness anything. He's going off what he's heard from other people. Granted, they may be other people that he considers a friend. I'm sure he does. They're probably closer than friends. They probably blink and bend the knee for each other, if you know what I mean, those bloody homos. But anyway, I digress. He's taken that information, and instead of using his position of leadership as a captain who has some sway, you're overseeing a troop, and you are a senior leader from the tactical and strategic perspective within a squadron. You have access to the squadron SAR Major, who's a WO2, who's basically the big dog of the non-commissioned officers of all the troops and stuff in there, high rank, warrant officer class 2. And then you've also got access to a major, who is the squadron commander or the OC for the particular squadron that you are a part of as a troop commander. So you've got access to that level of leadership. You've also got access to go up higher to the RSM, to the CO if you want to. He hasn't done any of that. He has done none of that. He's gone to the media. And, sorry, I should take that back. There have been some reactions that I've done whereby I have read where Andrew Hastie apparently says that he raised it with a troop sergeant. So that's good. And whereby he did say, I think he said he raised it with, I want to say an OC, a major level, which would also be good. But still, if you've raised it there, that's not the green light to go, oh, you've let them know, so now I'm going to go to the media. That's your green light, if you've got genuine concerns about it, Wankstein Wasty, to continue to push until you find out what's going on. Is this being investigated? Has it been investigated? What has been the outcome? If nothing's been done, why is nothing being done? And you continue doing that. You're like that little hamster in the wheel, spinning around, doing as much as you can through the process, through the mechanisms that are in place to allow that sort of stuff to happen. Until, this is where I would deviate from that, until such time as you feel like you've done everything that you can. You've been blinking running into the brick wall head first, and nobody, you're getting the cold shoulder, you're getting palmed off, you're being told to not worry about it, you've been told it's been dealt with and that there's nothing further, and you haven't been given any proper justification as to why, based on the rumors or the allegations that you've escalated. If you've encountered all of that sort of stuff from your superiors, because that's where it would come from, it wouldn't come from your subordinates. If you've encountered that level of resistance, let's say, from your leaders, then you would look to go loud, more than likely. Then you would in my opinion anyway, this is just my personal opinion, you would then have more justification for going outside that process and going to the media, because you've been running into that brick wall, if there was a brick wall, and you've been being met with obstacle after obstacle, and you've been documenting it in the process. You've been documenting the time and day, who you spoke with, what you spoke about, what the response was that you got. You've followed up with communications with those people that you've been speaking with. So you've got all your ducks in a row. You've got this record of evidence to show that you have tried as hard as you can to go through the process in order to get the information or to get this investigation done. I'm hijacking Dean Burgess's video here, but that's all right. The longer people see, if you're watching this video, the more you see Dean Burgess. If you're not subscribed to him, go check him out. He's also got a YouTube channel too, but you should be able to see that when you go into his bio and all that sort of thing. So if he had done all of that, then okay, I could understand anybody then feeling fed up, disenchanted, feeling like, okay, discouraged, nothing's happening. Buggy is like, I'm going to go over here now. I gave you your chance. You have just tried to palm me off. I've got all this evidence of me trying to do these things. Buggy, I'm going to go loud. I'm going to go here. He didn't do that. And he hasn't come out and at any time and described what he's tried to do. Instead, he stood in Parliament and accused the regiment of having a toxic masculinity, or whatever he described it as, in the regiment. And then he acted on rumors and went straight to the media with those rumors. He is a bloody twat. Can't really call him a coward, because unlike his cowardly boyfriends that got the ass to 4 Squadron, none of them are showing their face. At least he's showing his face. But that's probably because he is a retard. But in saying that, if he's a retard, what does that say about the Liberal Party? What does that say about the Australians that voted for that retard? So anyway, let's get back to Dean Burgess. Sorry, Dino.
In federal court, under oath, Hastie himself described the allegation that Ben Robert-Smith kicked a detainee off a cliff as a fairly well-established rumour within the regiment. Now,
so that's what he's going to the media with, a fairly well-established rumour. Is that what you took to your troop sergeant? Is that what you took to your OC? Is that why you didn't escalate it anymore? Is that why you didn't document anything? Because you took to them a fairly well-known rumour about this? he is an idiot, man. Like, snake is too kind a word to describe ball bag Hasty.
Now, a quick side note. Anyone that's ever played competitive sport, been a part of a group or a club or anything, you know that there's rumors that go around all the time, typically from haters and, or in this case, cowards. So rumor, schmoomer, and a pointed.
Watch out, Dino. I'll let you know now. Hemorrhoid Head will probably come on your channel because he just can't help himself. He'll probably like and subscribe to you as well, which is fine. But he'll be frothing at the bit, waiting for more of your content to come out, like he clearly does for mine.
To note, in that federal court admission, he hadn't witnessed it. It was secondhand, barracks talk, same as you'd get in a footy club. Yet, when a former SASR captain and federal MP speaks to an investigative journalist about alleged war crimes inside the regiment, those words don't land as gossip. They land with the full weight of the commission he once held and the authority of Parliament. His explanation? My view is that the system failed, which is why public interest journalism is important. That's the comment.
His view is that the system failed. Dig into that, people. Hemorrhoid Head, dig into that. Why would he say that? And if the system failed, what part did he play in it? He's a senior leader, a captain, rank of captain, within the regiment, in charge of a troop as part of a squadron. I've already described the access of the leadership that he has access to. Anybody has access to that level of leadership within the regiment at the end of the day. But he has not only access, but he has a responsibility. If he feels that things need to happen and need to be done, what did he do about it? What did he do about it? The reason that he hasn't come out and spoken about what he did about it is because he did truck all about it. He went straight to the media with rumors. And like Dean Burgess correctly pointed out, he went there with the rumors, but carrying the weight of his Lincoln, I don't know what you call it, a Weet-Bix packet beret issued to him because he failed his cycle. He failed the CQB course. He didn't get badged with his cohort. He must have received his beret later and down the track. But he carries that weight of being an SAS soldier and then being a member of Parliament. So they're no longer rumors because his opinion is the system failed. Well, you were part of that system. So you must have failed as part of that. And if you don't think you did fail as part of that, then where's your evidence to show us and explain to us all those things that I just outlined before? What steps did you take? Who did you talk with? When? Did you document that? What did you talk about? How did you follow up? What did they reply back to you with? How and where did you see the failings in the system? Where did they stonewall you and put up obstacles and barricades to block you from progressing the rumors or the investigation into rumors into allegations of war crimes against Ben Roberts-Smith or against anyone? Show the evidence of where you were stonewalled, whereby you felt like you had no other option but to go to the media. The truth is, there isn't any, because if there was, again, like everything else that's been coming out, that would have magically materialized by now, but it hasn't.
Common thread. When Hasty decides the institutions have failed, the fourth estate becomes the first resort. Follow for more of the truth. You won't.
How's that, eh? The fourth estate becomes the first resort. When Andrew Hasty decides that the system has failed, it means bugger the processes and the mechanisms to conduct whatever those things are, whether it's an investigation, whether it's an inquiry, whatever wording people want to use to look into what these things are here, or whether there's any substance to these allegations or rumors. No, I'm not going to do that. We're going to go straight to the media because I've made friends with these clowns, Dick Masters and Dick McKenzie, whilst he was in Afghanistan. I think it's crazy. Anyway, let's let Dino finish off his wrap up.
Right here in the mainstream media. Share this with the people that you care about. The fight continues. Make it make sense.
Stop sharing. Pause that. Make it make sense, eh? Hard case. Oh, what's this? Rubber Kiwi. The system failed. He is the bloody system. Yeah. He is part of the system. He plays a significant part. A trooper is part of the system, or private a corporal, lance corporal, sergeant. Everybody's part of the system. Like you rightly pointed out, Rubber Kiwi, he is the bloody system. They are the system. And he didn't follow it. So if it failed, and if he's saying that it failed, how and where and why did it fail? He's got a lot to answer for. He's got a lot to explain. I'd love a please explain. And again, to Solly's, one of the kind supporters over in the UK, to Solly's question to me, would I sit down or would I engage in a debate with Hastie? I'd love to. I'd sit down and talk with him and ask him questions. He can ask me questions. It's well known that I wasn't there on the ground at the time when these things were happening, and never served in Afghanistan in a military capacity with the regiment, unfortunately for me. But it doesn't mean that I don't have questions, and or if he was on the ground, then he can answer those. But I don't think it's unreasonable, based on the fact that he's gone loud to media 2 times, once in a defamation case that he's now a part of, and the other time, which was prior to the defamation case, which he's now facing. Prior to that, when he was in the regiment, feeding information or feeding rumors, not information. You can't even call it information or intelligence. He's feeding rumors to the media, to mainstream media, whilst he was an active serving member in the regiment, albeit a failed member of the regiment, and got given a golden parachute to soften his landing so that he could end up getting a beret while he was there. So it's interesting, man. Sit down. That twat wouldn't sit down with me, especially if he's seen any of my videos. I'd love it if he would. I would have at least a bit more respect for him if he would sit down with me, and we'd have a chat and talk about it. I would fly to Perth, over to his place there in Canning, if he agreed to have a sit down with me and have a chat, so I can go through and pump him with some questions. I can even let him know. I'll do a live and say, these are the questions I want to ask you, cuz. Or he could do it online if he didn't want to meet in person. It's just, yeah, he is a ball bag. And he's got some fans in Hemorrhoid Head that are cheering for him in his corner, that think he's courageous, more than likely. Well, if you think the faceless, nameless, gutless cowards, those retards that got the ass from 2 Squadron, if Hemorrhoid Head thinks that they are not cowards, then he must think blanking, what's his face, Wangstone Wasty is bloody John Rambo. That's probably what he thinks of him, because he's showing his face, but he hasn't. Yeah, just from what I've seen, I'd love to ask Weeksy comments and questions about, bro, what was blanking ballbag Wasty like, from your opinion, your perspective? What was he like as a soldier? What's the go with him failing CQB? Like, who made those decisions? asking Weeksy about that sort of stuff. I'd love to speak with people that were there, that were part of his cycle, that were instructors on his course. Clearly, they didn't listen to RS, and I think there may have been one other person during Wasty's selection that said that didn't recommend him to continue onto the cycle. And just the fact that the regiment, whoever those decision makers were that chose to ignore that recommendation, or those recommendations from RS and 1 or 2 others, well, that's come back to bite you right in the bloody ball bag, hasn't it? But those twats that made that decision probably aren't there anymore either. So they probably don't care. Yeah. Useless pricks, those guys there. That's about all I've got on that piece. CQB is kind of important, isn't it? What with all the fighting and stuff. yeah, just a little bit, bro. Just a little bit important today. Important to be able to hit those targets, especially those static targets that you got to validate on at various ranges, long gun, short gun, or primary, secondary, whatever you want to call them. Dare I say vital. Critical that everybody be able to pass, and passes the same standard, and that no separate little secret handshakes are afforded to people that are too truck and useless to pass. What is it? NZSAS has been on record multiple times saying that, we're not lowering the standard. Too bad if nobody passes. It's just too bad. Like, the standard is the standard. It has been done. It will continue to be able to be done. It is achievable. It's not impossible. And it's just, sometimes people aren't up to scratch or aren't able to pass it the first or second time. Sometimes it takes people 3 or 4 goes at it. Sometimes it takes them 2. Some people are fortunate enough that sometimes they get through first go, selection and cycle. But at the end of the day, that's not the norm. The norm is, I would say, and I've shared this before, I would say the norm is more than likely people need a couple of bites at it before they get through. Whether that's past selection first go, get onto cycle, then have a bit of a hiccup on cycle or not quite at the standard where you need to be, you get RTU'd. You go back to your unit, you spend some time there, do some more training, etc. Then you go back and you get an opportunity to start the whole cycle again, depending on what stage you failed at, and or come back in a week or 2 before that phase that you failed when you were there the first time, and then get back in and then carry back on. And that's your, a second time. So not only do you get retests during the course if you've failed, you get RTU'd if you fail to complete it in that time. And then you typically, unless you've been a real retard, you typically get to come back from that cycle point again with another cohort. So you're not with your cohort anymore, you're typically with another cohort, and then go from that point on. And if you manage to get through it that second time through, which a number of people have done, patrol procedures as an example, black roll counterterrorism as an example, where the CQB takes place, then cool, good. Like, not everybody, sometimes people need that extra time for whatever reason. But I'd never heard of until I read that article by Aaron Patrick. That never even came into my mind that you fail a course like CQB and you don't get RTU'd, which is what happened in Andrew Hastie's case. That's just, that guy seems like has had a blessed run, has been having a blessed run, and will probably continue to have a blessed run for the foreseeable future, the way things are going, especially with Channel 9 picking up all his legal costs and legal bills. And with him having a sook about feeling all these threats against him and his family, now there's a significant amount of money being spent on private security just for him and his family. It's ridiculous. Makes you think. If you were somebody of integrity and good character, you wouldn't be needing that. If you were somebody that could be trusted, you wouldn't be needing all of that rubbish, and you'd be able to front up and answer the questions like a man. But yeah, he's a twat. Anyway, what's this? Missed most of it. Enjoyed what I got. Cheers, brother. Have a good Arvo. The standards are the standards for a reason, and they make us who we are. They never change. Well, they should never change, eh? They should never change. Yeah, appreciate you stopping by, and anybody else that's here. I don't know if there's anything else for me to go on to. This video was dedicated to hemorrhoid head, blank and penis head, special head, dick head, 27. The invitation is still there, but you more than likely won't accept it because you are like those cowardly retards that don't want to show their face on camera. So, it is what it is. I guess I'll get to see more of you in the comments, and at least if nothing else, you'll make for more live content or other content that I can do videos too. Maybe you'll join in on another live like you did the other time when you were just itching and frothing for me to read your defamation result article that you sent through, which I went through. But yeah, it seems like other than that, you are too scared to jump on any sort of video call or live stream again, so that I can't edit, so that I wouldn't edit anything out, and you can put forward your legal degree opinion on these things, which again, I think you're either contracts law or you're doing wills and or property. You're probably doing some naff bloody, well, actually I shouldn't say that, that's probably disrespectful to those that do that type of law. But you know what I mean? You're definitely no criminal legal Einstein. You're bloody retard. But you have been good for content for this channel. And no doubt, like I said, you've subscribed and you've got notifications on. Actually, that's one thing I should have mentioned. If people are new here, then you're invited to subscribe to the channel. Whack the notification bell like Hemorrhoid Head has done, so that you too can see the next video or the latest video and then jump into the comments and or send through your requests or whatever. I mean, you can send requests anyway, but feel free to subscribe, like, and put your comments in. Don't be surprised though if you're a bit of a retard like Hemorrhoid Head, if I grab and take your comments, screenshot them, and use them for content to just call you a retard and or, you know, whatever other names pop into my head. So anyway, look after yourselves, people. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and enjoy this upcoming weekend. Stay safe. Do things that you enjoy. And if that means starting a YouTube channel, wink, wink, nudge, nudge to you know who, then I encourage you to do it. If it means doing more content and videos, then do that as well. Otherwise, yeah, stay awesome, stay safe, and I'll see you. Thank you for your time and support, and I'll see you on the next one. Or you'll see me. Car Keats, peeps. Oh, sorry. Hasty seems like a complete grifter. I've sadly seen too many cases where even the most stringent assessment and selection courses in SOF can't filter out all the a-holes trying to get through. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, there's blinking lemons that get through in every organization. Yeah, we're well aware of that. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for that input, Sig Spear Thumb. And yeah, again, take care, peeps. All right, end stream. Oh, it was only 2.5 hours. That's not too bad. Shorter than I thought.